This was our land. Troll land. We Amani was here before anyone. The elves and their alliance came to drive us out. But we never give up. We never forget. The elves took my eye. I cut off my own arm to escape them. And now they fight alongside the Horde? I spit on the Horde! I hate you. I hate you all. But I got a surprise for you now. So come on in. The Amani never give up. We never forget. We never die. This is our land. You wanna stay? You stay here forever. We gonna bury you here.
So, that was the remaster of the patch trailer from way back in the day of the Burning Crusade, of patch 2.3, I believe, a long, long time ago. It technically wasn't the first trailer that they did. That was probably actually the Noxramas trailer. But I would say, but that was a little rough. This one I would say was the first real good trailer. Even the original, like this is the remaster, looks a little better, but even the original was just like, it did look a tad bit rough, but it was edited and well designed to help tell the story, what was going on. And of course with the visuals and the music, oh my gosh, I love the music of this trailer, it's so good. And then of course, the voice of Zul'jin telling the story, just mwah, chef's kiss. Absolutely wonderful. So, I was just checking this before I went live. By the way, I know I said that we were going to wait until tomorrow, but I just couldn't wait. I'm so excited for this. This was on my mind. I thought, I'm just going to go ahead and start tonight, and then we'll continue this tomorrow. Now, let me just very quickly swap to the other thing that we're going to actually take a look at in preparation for going to Zul'Aman, which is this short story called Zul'Jara, the Legacy of the Amani. So let me just go ahead and make sure I swap to that particular one. See if we get that up there. There we go. And just like the Umbric one, this is a short story. I think it's over an hour long. So I do want to actually find out what this has to say before we actually go to do the zone and such.
Welcome. My name is Mela Lee, and I voice Zul'Jara in World of Warcraft Midnight. Today I'll be reading Legacy of the Amani. Join me. The sharp scent of soot, iron, and earth saturated the room. Firelight painted solemn faces in swatches of shadow and flame. A pyre burned atop an altar, crackling an accompaniment to the low croon of Kinduru's voice. The speaker swayed before ancient stone, shaped in the likeness of a great eagle, her wings outspread, her noble face turned toward the hidden heavens. Akilzon, mother of storms and skies. Once primary loa of the Amani, but no more. She had forsaken them. And still, Kinduru danced. He stamped his feet against the packed earth in a sister rhythm to drums that beat for him alone. His arms twisted overhead, then spread wide as if he meant to take flight. From where she knelt nearby, Zuljara watched her uncle worship. She listened to him sing Akilzon's praises and beseech blessings that would never come. A waste of time. Some small part of her protested. With a last lingering note, Kinduru collected a wooden bowl from the altar and lifted it in offering and supplication. He bowed deeply before the great eagle, then faced Zuljara. She felt her spine straighten, but did her best to remain still, her knees in the dirt, her hands at her sides, and her body bent forward. Hopefully, this would be done soon.
Akilzon,
Kinduru called.
we lay your mark upon this chosen daughter.
He dipped a finger into the bowl. It came away a deep red, which he then swept against Zuljara's arms, shoulders, and neck.
You look just like your mother,
Kinduru murmured as he painted.
but I see the fierceness of your grandfather in your eyes, sharp and dangerous.
Anger burned like venom in Zuljara's belly. I am nothing like him. Kinduru's smile faded at the edges as he regarded her, still kneeling at the center of the hazy circle of torches, the smoke and cloying scent of the ceremonial oils heavy in the air. The speaker raised his voice once more.
Great Eagle, take her mind, body, and spirit under your wing. Give her strength and wisdom. Keep watch over her, guide her, so she may do the same for her people.
His paintless hand fell atop her head.
Zuljara, bloodborn of Zuljin, soon chieftain of the Amani.
His words were firm, but the faintest curl to his lip betrayed his pride.
I still don't understand why she has to do this.
Zuljan stood just outside the circle with their mother.
And I don't understand why you have to step down. Then you mean to misunderstand.
Chieftain Zarama pushed from behind clenched teeth. Zuljara's annoyance mirrored the sharpness of her mother's reply. Why did her brother always make a point to press at an unpleasant topic as if it were a bruise? And now, of all times, this ceremony should have been a moment of celebration for their family. The two of them here to witness her ascension. Instead, a thread of tension twisted through it all, tight as a bowstring. Zarama went on.
You worry for your sister, but she is strong. Stronger than I.
It took every ounce of Zuljara's not insignificant will to keep her gaze from dragging to her mother's injuries. Burn wounds concealed by a cloak Zarama clutched closed as she spoke.
Strong enough to dissuade challenge from the other tribes. And you're not,
Zuljan retorted.
The mighty Zarama who fought off a Nalden on her own in the dead of night, then bloody from battle marched home bearing the scars of victory.
Some weeks ago, their mother's caravan was ambushed by the giants that roamed the forests near their settlement. They'd crushed her ribs in with a burning log, shattered her leg. Against such burns, even the greatest troll would find difficulty healing.
On top of everything else you've done,
Zuljan tutted, his voice snatching Zuljara back to the moment at hand.
Isn't that enough?
Few could match her mother, true. But Zuljara had begun to build her own legend. And not just as Zarama's daughter. Her skills in combat could not be denied. They'd been tested not only in training but in the wilds, during reconnaissance missions and skirmishes along their borders to maintain what lands had not been stolen. Zarama placed one hand upon her son's shoulder.
You don't have to defend my name. It stands on its own. But these are wounds I may not heal from.
Her hold on the cloak tightened.
If I remain chieftain, I'm challenged and defeated.
She did not have to finish. They all understood what that meant for their family, for their people. Zul'Jin pursed his lips around his tusks.
But you can...
Enough, Jean! Zul'Jara had little patience for her brother's protests. This is happening. It was always going to happen. Zul'Jin dipped his head in deference. He couldn't argue the truth of that. She was the eldest. This was her path. Kinduru, who stood by silently during their disagreement, as he so often did, cleared his throat.
If you are finished.
Zarama sucked her teeth and gestured for them to continue. Zul'Jara faced her uncle.
As I was saying.
He set his hand on her head once more.
Zul'Jara, bloodborn of Zul'Jin, soon chieftain of the Amani. Arise and present yourself worthy.
Zul'Jara pushed to her feet, her knees complaining, her legs numb. She could imagine her uncle prattling on about how, in his day, they could kneel for hours without issue.
But the young people no longer pray.
Because there is no one to hear us. Finished. He backed away and bent low as he declared.
One to the other, let it be passed.
Zarama approached her daughter, her cloak falling back to reveal her own painted palm, and a brief glimpse of the gnarled skin at the edges of scarred flesh. The sight tore at something inside Zul'Jara. With steady fingers, Zarama left her mark on her daughter's face and fate. Zul'Jara saw a softness dancing in her mother's eyes, something fond. Then it was gone.
The other tribes await our arrival.
Zarama took up her axe. It was a massive thing with spikes as long as her fingers around the head of the blade and flame at its heart. She faltered under its weight. Both Zul'Jara and Kinduru reached for her. Even Zul'Jin had stepped forward, but Zarama waved them off, then gathered herself with her shoulders back and her head high.
Let us greet the future of the Amani.
The journey from Akilzon's shrine to the meeting hall wasn't long at all. A single bridge hung suspended between the structures, situated on the two tallest hills. Amani-Za stretched out around them. The village had become a waypoint of sorts for any driven here with high elven blades and magic at their backs. The colonizers and their allies raided Amani lands and snatched up territory, forcing people from their homes, those who weren't slain. Here, in the cover of Akilzon's reach, there was safety, shelter. This was sovereign land. At one time under the protection of the Loa. Survivors took time to recover before moving on, though some chose to remain. Thus the Amani survived in the shadows of the sprawling cities that had once dotted the empire. Cities Zul'Jara had never laid eyes on, but they filled her dreams still, each stone placed by stories the elders told. When she and her brother were younger, their uncle and mother spoke of the past, how the Loa dwelled in their temples and the speakers who were numerous then would invoke their blessings for everything from the anointing of a new chieftain to the birth of new babes. The people offered prayers before eating, before travel, before visits to friends and family, before planting crops or harvesting the same, before placing bets on games or tournaments. Reverence for the gods saturated every aspect of Amani life.
We were truly blessed,
Kinduru would say with this far-off look in his eyes, a look of wonder and longing. Now, some might say the Amani were lucky to be alive. As their small group went along, Zul'Jara glimpsed new faces mingling among her people. Perhaps mingle wasn't the right word. The visitors remained in tight groups, though some broke off to speak with others. The rich brown armor and pale paint of the witherbark was easy to identify. So were the brilliant yellows and burning oranges of the shadow pine, and the vibrant greens and blues of the vile branch. The bones of their masks made it especially easy to pick them out. As a matter of fact, the number of white faces amongst green was a surprise and a concern. There are so many, eh?
I noticed as well.
Kinduru murmured without turning.
Seems Kolanji has traded elders for warriors.
Zuljara barely repressed a snarl. Time spent at her mother's side meant she'd attended many a gathering with leaders from the other tribes. Of them all, she liked the arrogant Kolanji the least.
I don't see any Reventusk,
she remarked.
Likewise.
Have they been waylaid?
Perhaps.
Kinduru assented, though he did not sound convinced. Neither was she. Few good things resulted in the absence of a tribe's entire retinue. Guards stood on either side of the meeting hall's entry. At Zarama's approach, they straightened and offered salutes. The sounds and smells of the gathering reached Zuljara before the sight of it. Oiled leather, the heady aroma of roots and herbs carried by the shaman. And beneath it all, the acrid scent of sweat. Inside, each tribe had taken their usual place around the grand room. There were so many vile branch they spilled over into the empty space reserved for the Reventusk. Zarama paused to greet each tribe's representative personally, and Zuljara took the opportunity to scan the eastern wall of the room. Sure enough, a familiar face stuck out amongst the shadows. A tall but slim figure stood braced against a support beam, arms folded, piercing green eyes slowly roving over their guests. Zuljara waited until that gaze found hers, then tilted her head in silent beckoning. The figure melted into the crowd, disappearing for a moment before re-emerging at her shoulder. Zuljara. Ralji. Zuljara didn't address the figure directly, instead keeping one eye on her mother as she finished her greetings. Any word from the Reventusk? None, Ralji offered. Barely a year older than Zuljara, Ral was one of their finest scouts. If there was anything amiss, she could uncover it. I've prepared a small search party just in case. Send word of whatever you find. Ralji bowed, then stepped back and away, slipping from the hall.
What was that about?
Came a curious murmur from Zuljara's back. Her brother no doubt overheard the conversation, but thankfully had not interrupted. Following a hunch, she shot him a look she hoped conveyed they would speak about it later. Too many roving eyes and open ears present. Zuljan's brow puckered. He clearly had questions, but held them behind pursed lips. Careful, or your face will get stuck like that, Zuljara said.
I'll still be prettier.
She smiled for the first time in hours. Leave it to Jean. Soon their group was moving again. The rumble of conversation receded as they passed, those in attendance lowering their heads or offering salute to Zarama. It didn't go unnoticed that a number of Vile Branch did not. Zarama reached the table at the head of the room, taking her seat behind it. Zuljara stood at her mother's right hand and Zuljan on her left, while Kinduru made a show of bowing before stepping off to the side entirely. Zuljara followed her mother's gaze as it landed on each of the representatives at the front of their band. Well, 2 of 3. Kolanji remained seated and wore the faintest sneer. It widened when his gaze caught Zuljara's, and revulsion rippled through her.
We have much to discuss,
Zarama began. Heads bobbed. Affirmations scattered through the room like rain.
Our scouts bring word of newly established supply lines from the south. Behind their gilded walls, the elves are building something. We must be ready to stand against whatever comes.
Zarama's gaze flicked to the empty Reventusk section, but it was only for an instant.
To that end, I will no longer be your chieftain. I would have my daughter Zuljara lead in my place.
At the sound of her name, Zuljara stepped forward. Zarama continued.
Trained by my hand, she has braved many dangers to ensure the safety of our people. She has studied our enemy, knows their tactics, and will be their reckoning. The legend of our line sings in her blood.
Cheers erupted around the room, and pride swelled in Zuljara's chest. This was it. Everything her mother, her father, and her uncle had instilled in her. It was all for this moment. She lifted her chin as she had seen her mother, her chieftain, do so many times.
I believe
An unpleasantly familiar voice interjected.
that before the mantle is passed, we get a say.
Kolanji tilted forward, flexing muscled arms covered in more scars than skin. Zuljara's jaw clenched tight.
Kolanji,
Zarama acknowledged with practiced poise.
you wish to speak?
The Vile Branch leader offered a smile that was all teeth.
I do.
He finally stood, taking hold of a massive mace. The head was well worn from pounding his enemies into a pulp, the pommel shorn into a wicked red-stained spear. Lifting the weapon with one hand, he leveled it at Zuljara.
You claim this girl knows the elves. Has she faced them in more than border skirmishes? Stared down their numbers, the downpour of their arrows, the fire at their fingertips, and chosen to fight anyway?
Not for the first time since learning she was to be chieftain, Zuljara felt a hollowness in her being, a lacking she wasn't sure how to reconcile.
No, unsurprising.
Kolanji switched targets, aiming a thick finger at an unmoved Zarama.
Your family's failures have cost us what little our enemies didn't take. Now you present this untested child to lead?
He sucked his teeth, the insults carrying to every corner of the room.
I think not.
White-hot fury filled Zuljara.
You choose now of all times, infighting while the elves could be preparing an attack.
Manic delight danced across Kolanji's face.
Elves are the least of your troubles, girl.
He played his tongue against his teeth, teasing the leather band around one tusk.
I invoke the right of challenge.
The room exploded with cries of treachery from one side and the demand to honor the challenge from the other. Zarama lifted her hands for silence, but the tribes continued to hiss and spit. Weapons appeared in raised fists. Insults and accusations flew like spears. Cretins, all of them. Zuljan played at disinterest, but his wide eyes betrayed his worry. Fed up, Zuljara snatched her mother's axe from its place on the table. She hefted it overhead and with a roar brought it down. The blade struck the chamber floor with a sound like thunder, a webwork of cracks splitting the stone. A snarl curled her lips as she heaved the weapon from the fractured floor.
Your chieftain called for order.
She addressed the gathering, while glaring at a still smiling Kolanji. Silence fell in her wake as she returned to her mother's side. Zarama's expression was unreadable, but the anger that had roiled in Zuljara glittered in her mother's eyes.
Very well,
Zarama said, her voice the quiet before a storm.
the challenge will be answered.
It was a miracle the conclave dispersed without violence. Kolanji took his forces and retreated beyond the bounds of the settlement. The other tribes returned to their designated lodgings. The hall stood empty, save for Zuljara and her family. While an all-out brawl had been avoided, there was still plenty to fight about.
Let me face him.
Irritation pounded in Zuljara's temples.
He is one troll.
Jara, her mother began, while massaging her brow.
I can do it.
No,
Zarama cut the air with her hand.
Kolanji may be a conniving, backstabbing snake, but his fangs are sharp and his strike is deadly.
Her gaze fell to where her axe rested on the table once more.
If he wants a fight, then I will give it to him.
Incredulity lodged itself in Zuljara's throat like a fist. Before she could shake it loose, Kinduru interjected.
And you will lose. Don't look at me like that. I was there when you all but tumbled into the healing hut. You were a mess. But think the lower you were alive. You've only just recovered enough to call this conclave and stand for the ceremony. You cannot face another warrior in a fight to the death. Besides, if you stand in for Jara, it will only undermine her.
The speaker looked from his brother's wife to his niece, then back again.
Zuljara was the one challenged. By right, the decision is hers. And what about the next challenger?
Zul'Jin said.
Or the one after that, and the one after that.
Zuljara narrowed her eyes at her brother.
Why would... Kolanji didn't just pick a fight, he called you unworthy. Beating him won't make that go away.
Unfortunately, her brother was right. Given the responses during the conclave, others shared Kolanji's sentiments. She could be fighting off challengers for the rest of her days as chieftain.
In my day,
Kinduru began.
Here he goes again,
Zul'Jin murmured.
In my day,
Kinduru cut a look at his nephew.
Aloa's favor was enough to dissuade challenges. The Aloa are gone.
Zarama snapped with a tut, losing her patience.
And so is their favor.
In moments like this, it was easy to feel how the Loa's absence haunted the tribes, like a broken bone left to heal without being set. Her people were recovering, but they would carry this hurt the rest of their lives.
The Loa are missing, but their favor lingers.
Kinduru turned to Zuljara.
You must make the climb to Akuzon's temple. Out of the question,
Zarama barked.
The mountain is too dangerous now.
Kinduru pressed on.
In the temple you will find an axe. Akuzon gave it to our people long ago. A gift from the Loa carries their divine touch. And while the journey is perilous, it is not impossible. Returning with the axe would be proof enough for many that while silent, the Loa may still watch over us. Over you. Defeat Kolanji with it. Show them you are worthy indeed.
Silence stretched to fill the hall. Whatever rebuttal Zarama had prepared seemed to wither on her tongue as she realized, along with the rest of them, that this was probably the only way to ensure the stability of her daughter's reign. She closed her eyes and released a breath heavy enough that Zuljara felt her own shoulders sag with it.
You truly wish to do this?
Zarama asked, her voice soft but tight. Zuljara nodded. I want to. I need to. Whether or not it means the Loa favor me, doing this will prove I am strong enough to lead our people and defend my name, undercut Kolanji's claim that I am untested. Without another word, Zarama rose and came around the table. Zuljara noticed how she favored her right leg in a slight limp, but said nothing. She simply went into her open arms.
The challenge requires 2 days of preparation,
Zarama whispered into her hair.
I can stall for that long, but if you don't return by the 3rd,
I'll make it, mother. The embrace tightened, almost painfully so.
You come back to me, you hear? Come back.
With the decision made, Zuljara saw to preparing. The mountain was not far, but the peak where the temple rested was high, and the enchanted winds that used to carry people to the dais went still the day the Loa vanished. Without the Sky Mother's blessing, the ascent was practically a death sentence, one Zuljara would face. Her eyes went to the gathered supplies spread across the table centered in her chambers. It was usually covered in maps and missives. Tonight, she'd laid out the provisions she'd need to make this journey. A knock sounded at her door, briefly distracting her from the task. Enter? To her surprise, her brother stepped through. He took in the supply-covered table.
A little light for a 2-day journey.
More than enough for what I need to do. Zul'Jin sank back against the closed door. Neither spoke as she packed, the silence between them thickening until...
There are other ways you could defeat Kolanji. Ways that don't involve you risking your life for a ceremonial weapon that means nothing now that the Loa are gone.
It wasn't the words themselves, but the way he spoke, softly as if sharing a secret, that made Zuljara pause. She considered him carefully. Such as?
A poison?
Tempting, Zoljara admitted.
But no. Nothing potent enough to take his life, just slow him, steal his strength for a while, give Mother time to...
So you doubt me as well, hmm? Zoljara spun to face her brother. She felt her lips purse and her brows lift in an open challenge for him to answer. Zoljan met the look with his usual quiet confidence. A lifetime together meant he had something of a handle on his sister's moods.
I am probably the one person who never doubted you. But if you want to stand a chance against Kolanji, you should spend the next few days resting, training, anything but chasing after some fairy tale.
Enough, Jean. Enough! She cut the air between them with her hand. I am doing this. I have to do this.
Why?
That single word was both demand and plea. She could see it in his eyes. The hurt, the fear. For her. She wanted to hug him, to pull him close and promise all would be well. I just do. I don't expect you to understand. A different sort of pain flickered across his face.
Then I suppose it's a good thing that I don't.
With a feeling like stones in her stomach, Zoljara returned to making her preparations. And you never will. The silence from before returned. She did her best to ignore it, to ignore the feeling of her brother's eyes boring into the back of her head. Then, just before she gave in to the need to say something, tell him to leave or to help, he spoke.
I've known you to be many things, sister. Steady, passionate, strong, kind, but never foolish. Until now. Don't let your stubbornness cost more than you can give.
The door thumped closed behind him. Left alone, Zoljara simply stood in the quiet. She knew her brother's words were born of concern, but to suggest such underhanded tactics... Then again, the Vile Branch weren't exactly known for their stringent morality. Another knock shook her from her contemplations.
I'm not in the mood for any more of your nonsense, John.
What did he do this time? Came an amused voice. Zoljara turned to find Ralji standing in her doorway, her face full of gentle teasing, and couldn't help but smile faintly in return.
Nothing. Just... my brother has a way with words. Sometimes the wrong way.
She gestured for Ral to enter.
What did you find?
The scout closed the door before speaking. The Revan Tusk were not waylaid. They didn't come.
What?
They didn't come. Ralji splayed her empty hands as if in apology. In protest. She didn't have to say why. Zoljara already knew. To me, she spat.
My becoming chieftain.
Maybe. Ralji crossed the small space to make herself comfortable on the bed. She patted the spot beside her in silent beckoning. My sources say chatter about the elves gathering strength has them concerned.
Not just them.
Zoljara flopped beside Ral, earning a faint chuckle. No, but the protest is more a judgment on what happened the last time the tribes joined forces than you personally, if it makes you feel better.
It doesn't.
Ralji's expression softened as she folded one of Zoljara's hands in hers. It's not you. The warm press of fingers was a comfort, but Zoljara's traitorous thoughts would not leave her be.
No, just my family. One more stone my grandfather has placed around my neck.
Bending at the waist, she dropped her face into her hands and swallowed a frustrated groan. I can't pretend to know what you're going through. Hands fell to her shoulders and drew her out of her wallowing, but you don't need to face it on your own. Those same hands then lifted to cup either side of her face, thumbs brushing against her cheeks. There are people you can turn to, people who care for you. Zoljara's ire abated. She bowed her head and shut her eyes when Ralji's brow pressed to her own.
I know.
Yet you will climb a cursed mountain alone. No doubt Ral had choice words about Zoljara's decision.
I've climbed many mountains alone.
I would go with you.
I know.
Without hesitation.
I know.
Ralji sighed, the sound weighty with resignation and the quiet disappointment of being unable to help those you love. If you know so much, then you know I'm not happy about this. And that I'll be right here for you. Rauji folded her arms around Zuljara and held her close in the coming dark. Always. The village was quiet when Zuljara crept from her home and down the empty pathways. Under the cover of night, she was able to slip into the forest without alerting the Amani sentinels or the Vile Branch contingent camped at their door. Keeping a steady but swift pace, she went over her plan for the 100th time. It was much too dark to make the steepest part of the climb, but she would go as far as she could. If she set out again at first light, she could reach the peak by mid-afternoon. Then it was just a matter of finding the axe, climbing back down and returning in time to meet Kolanji's challenge. It was a loose plan with too many opportunities for disruption, but it was all she had. Along the path, she happened upon small shrines dedicated to Akilzon. In the past, these monuments would be covered in candles and offerings left by the faithful. Tribute crafted by a believer's hands or baskets full of food. Some even offered furs from hunts, all meant to curry favor in various aspects of life. After the Loa ceased speaking, the shrines grew empty and dark. It was at one of these sacred sites that she decided to make camp. The area was relatively flat, slightly open but elevated, not the most concealed, but defensible if necessary. Lowering her bag, she began to unpack what was needed for the night. Around her, the forest lay still. No wind, no creatures burrowing in the undergrowth. Yet her time amongst the trees meant when leaves rustled a touch too sharply, she knew she wasn't alone. She reached as if to pull something else from her pack, but closed her hand around her spear instead. Another rustle, this time closer, then closer. When her would-be assailant reached the edge of the clearing, Zuljara sprang upward, spinning on her heel in the same motion. There, a figure in the dark. She leapt, ready to drive her weapon through their heart. Hands went up in defense. Jara! Jean? Shock iced her body mid-lunge, and she nearly tripped over herself in an effort to stay her attack. Her brother's eyes were wide in the moon's light, dancing between her and the tip of her spear. "What are you doing?" she demanded in a hiss. Zuljan slowly lowered his hands, hopefully not losing my head, but only barely. She dropped her weapon, though not before smacking the pommel against her idiot sibling's arm. "I could have killed you." Zuljan followed to where her pack rested. "You're too skilled for that. Why are you skulking around in the dark?" "Isn't it obvious?" he asked in that sarcastic tone of his. "I'm here to help. I don't need your help." "You might. You could have been attacked by Nalden, or elves. So could you. Look, I know you have it in your head to do everything on your own. You have since we were children." Zuljara scowled, hoping that if he couldn't see her expression clearly, he could feel it. "You're still a child. Yet you're the one throwing a tantrum." He dodged another swing of her spear. "Let me start over. I understand why you're doing this." He paused, considered, then confessed. "Actually, I don't. But we promised to face this world and its challenges together. You are always going to lead, and I was always going to be there to support you. If this is how it starts, with you climbing a mountain in the middle of the lower Forsaken night to find some fancy axe, then I'm with you." Staring at her brother, hearing his words, the last embers of Zuljara's irritation cooled. She sighed, shaking her head. "You're supposed to be the clever one." Zuljan smiled, eyes twinkling. "I am. Pretty foolish to come after me by yourself. I trek these forests alone all the time. You still get lost in markets." "In my defense," Zuljan began as he stepped closer, "that place is chaos incarnate, and there's no way I can get lost following you." Despite their recent disagreements, Zuljan had been in her shadow their whole lives, not plotting a betrayal or planning his own rise, but genuinely there to look after her, as he knew she would always look after him. "Fine. If you're going to come, at least make yourself useful. Gather wood for a fire." Between the two of them, The task of setting camp was a quick one. Soon they sat near the trembling light of a newborn fire, rations warming on a stone. Zoljara poked at the flame's innards to coax out a bit more light and warmth, while her brother busied his hands with coal and parchment. He was sketching, she realized. You haven't done that for a while. She gestured to the drawing. I do it all the time. He scratched out a few more lines of what appeared to be a portrait. You just don't pay attention anymore. Don't pay attention anymore. She pitched her voice to mock him, then smiled and leaned forward with interest. Her breath caught cold in her chest. It wasn't an exact likeness. Things built from memory hardly ever were. But she knew the face all the same. Is that... Jean nodded. Father, I draw him sometimes. When I'm afraid I'm forgetting what he looked like, or wondering what he might do or say. He tilted the parchment so she could get a better look. Zoljara stared, transfixed. Jean was little when they lost their father, so it made sense he would struggle to hold on to the memory. Zoljara had been only slightly older, but for her, it never faded. She remembered strong arms scooping them onto broad shoulders. She remembered how his booming laughter had filled their home. The father was a big man with a big heart. Kinduru would tease him for being the soft one. Compared to Zarama, most were, but that never stopped Manye from doting on his children. Where their mother exemplified discipline and the iron will of a chieftain, their father had embodied love. Love for one's family and people. Zarama prepared her children for the realities of the future, for the trials that would surely come. Manye had instilled in them a respect for the past, when the Loa still enchanted their world and dreams of reclaiming their people's greatness seemed not so distant. What do you think he'd say? Zul'Jin asked, drawing Zoljara out of the memories. About all this? I don't know. Zoljara turned to check the food and sneakily wipe a few tears from her face. Maybe he'd say you should go home before you get yourself hurt. Zul'Jin narrowed his eyes, then set aside the sketch and shifted closer. You're the oldest and the heir, but don't forget I was there too, for Mother's lessons, for her training, during long nights when the weight of everything, not just the position but the defeat that placed it on her head, the broken legacy it carried, the withdrawal of our Loa and growing mistrust of the people nearly crushed her. Without father and uncle by her side, it would have. Zoljara glared at the flames, watching them twist and dance. He was right, but that made the unfairness of it all harder to bear. You were the one born to carry the burden, but I know it as intimately as you do. I don't want to see my sister broken. Hissing, Zoljara pulled away. I am not breaking. In the swaying light of the fire, Zul'Jin's gaze was steady and a touch saddened. Maybe not now, but if you continue down this path you've chosen... I didn't choose this path. It was chosen for me, same as it was chosen for Mother, by their grandfather's actions. Deep down, Zul'Jara blamed Zul'Jin for what had befallen their people. If he hadn't let his pride bait him into challenging the Horde, then the Amani's subsequent defeat wouldn't have shattered them. And perhaps the Amani and her family wouldn't have fallen so far. For all his blustering and pomposity, Kolanji was right about one thing. Failure was part of her inheritance. You've got that look on your face, Zul'Jin remarked flatly. What look? She grumbled. The I don't care what Jean says, I'm gonna do what I want look? A smile broke free despite her mood, a small one. There's a look for that? That one. He brought a knuckle to her face and dug it into her cheek. Right there. Stop. She swatted him away with one hand and rubbed her face with the other. Her small smile widened. Jean wore a matching one. Better, he said. Can't go to bed angry. Something else their father taught them. Thinking of him settled something in Zoljara. What she wouldn't give to be able to ask his advice on all of this. But he was gone. We can go back, Zul'Jin said.
Come up with a plan that doesn't risk you falling from a mountaintop.
I won't fall, but you could. Then Mother will have to face the challenge while injured and grieving. How do you think that would go?
She could feel her brother's eyes on her. But instead of answering, she took up a portion of the now burnt meal and held it out. Eat, then rest. We have a trying day ahead. The sun hadn't even crested the horizon when they broke camp, Zoljara taking the lead and setting the pace. Zul'Jin followed wordlessly, accompanied by the constant scritch and scratch against his drawing pad. Just like when we were younger. She remembered similar mornings, rising early to see to a litany of duties, with Jean trailing after. Jean, who was ever present, ever loyal. While she wouldn't admit it aloud, she was glad he'd followed her one more time. They didn't stop to rest or eat, instead passing the water sack and a hunk of dried boar back and forth as they walked. Somehow they reached the final climb without incident. At last, a stroke of good fortune. Right, she nodded, then tightened the strings on her pack. Wait here while I...
Wait here?
Zul'Jin barked an incredulous laugh.
You still want to do this alone?
I'll go faster with just...
If you are so determined to die, why not just jump off the mountain and be done with it, eh? Kalonji can swing his mace at your memory.
Zul'Jara felt her anger rise to a spear's point.
What do you want me to do, Jean? Put venom in his food? Maybe slit his throat in his sleep?
He shrugged.
Better him dead than you.
So you would have me live with the shame of such a thing? He'd do it to you if he could. And the point is, you'd live. I know you don't mind running from a fight, but not all of us are comfortable skulking in the shadows and striking from hidden places. Our people need a leader, not a coward.
Zul'Jin recoiled as if struck, his eyes swimming with hurt. That's when it hit her that he thought she was talking about him when she meant Kolanji. She opened her mouth to apologize, but paused. If Jean was upset with her, he wouldn't want to go. He'd turn back. He'd be safe. Then, after she retrieved the axe and returned home, she could explain. While it killed her to hurt him like this, it was for the best. It's what a chieftain would do.
No, look at him.
Some small part of her screamed.
You can't leave it, apologize.
Instead, she lifted her chin. The pain on her brother's face vanished under a mask of indifference, which was worse than if he had shouted at her. He nodded. It rained a couple of days ago, he murmured, his voice far calmer than it should have been. It sent a shudder through her. Mind the loose rocks. Then he turned and started back the way they'd come. Zoljara watched him go, still wanting so desperately to call after him, to chase him, grab him, say she didn't mean it that way. She swallowed the words and impotent desires, then spun on her heel and started her climb. Fueled by her anger at herself, Zoljara took to the mountainside like a spider, hand over hand, foot over foot. The burn in her belly propelled her ever upward. Twice she nearly lost her footing and almost went plummeting to her death, but her training and skill kept her grounded. She had no idea how long she clung to the side of the mountain, but eventually she managed to heave herself onto the temple dais. She collapsed against the smooth stone, her arms trembling, her lungs on fire. The sun burned overhead, blindingly so, as if to encourage her to get a move on. Its position put the time at just a few hours past midday. She lifted a hand to shield her eyes from the judgmental light. I'm going. Finding her feet on the precipice, she faced the temple. Years of abandon had left it crumbling in some places and discolored in others, but it evoked a sense of awe all the same. It was with a surprising amount of reverence that she climbed the stairs, bypassed the empty and broken altars on either side, now home to a number of eagle nests, and slipped into the cool shadow of the central tower. As she passed through the archway and into the main hall, she noticed the statues. 3 eagle heads, one on each wall. They peered down at her as if from on high, their empty eyes assessing, scrutinizing. She ignored them, instead taking in the rest of the space. Benches covered in tattered cloth, offering bowls left empty, some in pieces on the floor. It wasn't hard to envision this place in its prime, full of priests, speakers, and worshippers. The walls must have vibrated with their veneration. Sunlight poured through the slat above the entryway, and when a gust of wind stirred dust and ash from long burned-out pyres, the mixture thickened the air with a cloud of twinkling starlight. It was lovely and disgusting. Coughing, she covered her nose and mouth and squinted against the haze. There, something glinted at the base of an altar not unlike the one she'd knelt at yesterday. Something metallic. She crossed the distance at a run, sliding to a stop that sent more dust flying. Covered in a layer of grime and cobwebs was the axe. Slowly, reverently, Zuljara curled her fingers around the handle and lifted. It was old but finely crafted, heavy, but not too much so. Well balanced. It had seemed larger from farther away. A trick of the light, perhaps. The axe fit perfectly in her hands, almost as if it had been made for her. She tightened her grip and gave it a test swing. It cut the air beautifully. The edge still looked sharp enough to cut a man clean in half. Or an arrogant, vile-branched chieftain. With her prize attained, she turned to go but paused when her gaze lit upon one of the 3 eagle heads, watching her. Zuljara didn't put much stock in making offerings that always went ignored, but it felt wrong to take this without leaving anything in return. Besides, she had nothing to give except... Raising the axe on open palms, she bowed her head. My uncle says you're still listening. Her voice cracked against the words. I don't know if I believe that, but I do know our people need something to believe in. I could use something to believe in. A scream shattered the stillness.
Jara!
Jeanne! Panic kicked against her ribs as she bolted for the exit, her heart in her throat, its frantic pulse screaming in her ears. She leapt whole flights of stairs to reach the edge of the dais as quickly as possible. What she saw below sent fear cascading through her. Zul'Jin dove to one side just as a massive club slammed into the ground, sending a spray of dirt and rock into the air as if it were water. A Gnarldin roared as it hefted the weapon, which was truly just a tree with the branches broken off. The creature wasn't alone. At least 2 more giants lumbered after it, all of them clamoring to get to her brother. Zul'Jin darted around, the grubby fingers grabbing for him. Zuljara dropped down the handholds quickly. It was dangerous, foolish even. One wrong catch, and she'd be sent flying off the mountainside. She didn't care. She had to get to her brother. One of the creatures reached for Zul'Jin, but he drove his daggers into its meaty hand before darting aside as it pounded the ground, howling in pain. He tried ducking between the legs of another, but it caught the hem of his cloak. The fabric tightened around Jean's throat, choking off his shout as the monster hurled him toward a tree. The heavy thud made Zuljara's teeth ache. Then Zul'Jin hit the ground, tumbling over the edge of a rise. Frantic Zuljara flung herself forward with a roar.
No, Jean! No, Jean! No.
The sound echoed along the mountain, and all 3 giants turned toward her. Her leap carried her through the air, the blade finding a home in the neck of the Gnarldin that had thrown her brother. She felt the give of flesh, the snap of bone. Blood sprayed the other Gnarldin, blinding them temporarily. Panic shrieked in her ears as she scrambled to the cliff's edge. Relief nearly sent her toppling over when she saw Zul'Jin was alive, clinging to a root jutting out of the cliffside. Their eyes met, and without a word he reached for her. She hauled him up onto solid ground, pulling him tight against herself, and then shoving him back when the remaining Gnarldin seemed to get their bearings. They bellowed as they charged, fists and weapons lifted.
Stay behind me,
Zuljara called, then raced forward to meet them. She had no way to tell if her brother listened to her or not. but she couldn't focus on that. Her grip tightened on the axe, and she swung. Again and again, she brought the weapon up and around, slicing at muscled limbs and massive feet. Some of the blows glanced off their makeshift weapons, but that didn't slow her. She kept at it. The next swing sending a leg flying, and the giant that lost it howling to its knees. A blow to the back of the head finished it off. And then she faced her final opponent. She didn't see the unstable patch of rock until she was already mid-leap, bringing the axe down on the remaining Narden. Her weapon found its mark in the creature's chest, sinking deep. She held on and rolled the body as it fell right onto the sloping earth. The Narden slammed into the ground, which immediately began to dissolve beneath it, beneath her.
Zara!
Her brother's cry was the last thing she heard before she felt the world give way under her feet. The sky opened up above her as she was pulled down into darkness. Zuljara dreamt of shadow, of the deep night, of impossibly high mountains. She was climbing one, hand over hand, grueling inch by inch. The stones cut into her palms, and they wept fire. And no matter how long she climbed, she could never reach the top. She wanted to stop, but she knew she couldn't. They were counting on her. They were behind her, following. If she stopped, they would fall. She would fail. So she kept going, kept pushing toward the summit where her grandfather stood, staring down at her. There was judgment in his eyes. Anger flushed Zuljara's entire body. "Don't you look down on me," she growled between clenched teeth. "Don't you ever look down on me." Look down on me. Her voice echoed around her, shaking the mountainside. It felt like the entire thing could give way. Still, Zuljin continued to stare, unblinking, unspeaking. "You," Zuljara seethed. She pulled herself upward faster now, spurred on by her rage. "You!" Faster still, impossibly so. She was on her feet now, running up the mountain face. "You!" Akilzon's axe was suddenly in her hands. A gust of wind hit her back, launching her into the air, up and over her grandfather. "Coward!" She brought the axe down on his head. Fire erupted around her, bright and blazing. The axe vanished, consumed by the blaze. So did Zuljin. She was certain she would be next. But it didn't happen. There was no heat, no pain. Just blinding light and the wrath thrashing in her chest. Her eyes fluttered open. For a moment the world was unfamiliar shapes and colors that gradually sharpened into the familiar sight of her room. What? Her throat rebelled against the desire to speak. It felt like swallowing shards of glass. A jostle of movement at her side preluded Kinduru leaning in over her, his face drawn up in worry. When their eyes met, his breath left him in a rush.
Zuljara,
he stammered, relieved.
Akilzon be praised.
Akilzon, Zuljara repeated in a whisper. Her mind struggled to take hold of a memory, of a temple at the top of a mountain and an axe in her hands. What happened? Kinduru sank back into the chair at her bedside.
You fell,
he said, breathless with disbelief.
From the face of Akilzon's reach. That height should have killed you, but you barely had a scratch.
She understood her uncle's words individually, but couldn't quite make sense of what he was saying. Fell, she repeated. He nodded.
Zujan found you near the mountain's base, in an eagle's nest of all things. Somehow you survived. You even managed to keep hold of the axe. He brought you home.
Zuljara followed her uncle's gaze to the familiar-looking axe resting against the wall. Where did that? Akilzon! At that realization, memories flooded her mind in reverse, fighting the giants with the axe, climbing to the temple where she'd discovered the weapon. The reason she went searching for it to begin with. The challenge! She bolted upright in bed, her muscles aching. How long was I asleep? The shock on Kinduru's face melted away under trepidation.
At least a day. The challenge is underway.
Dread dropped cold through Zuljara.
Your mother
Kinduru continued.
has gone to meet Kolanji in your place.
No! Zuljara gasped. Injured as Zarama was, she did not stand a chance. Without another word, Zuljara threw off the blanket and forced her body to stand. She ignored the sharp stab of protest between her ribs.
What are you doing?
Kinduru demanded. You know what I'm doing, she snapped, taking up the axe.
You are in no condition to fight.
You said it yourself. I should be dead. Anything else is condition enough. Zuljara stormed from the room, through their home, and out to where her war bear waited.
The challenge will be met at the Broken Throne.
Kinduru called as she climbed into the saddle and snapped the reins.
Akilzon's wings speed you.
The chanting of the gathered crowd reached Zuljara's ears before she caught sight of the ruined city. There were roars and jeers back and forth, signaling the trading of blows. The fight was still on. The way was clear, save for a few stragglers, Amani sentinels and Vile Branch warriors eyeing one another from either side of the main thoroughfare. Zuljara rode past them without a thought, ignoring the shocked cries of her name as well as insults hurled at her back. She made for the arena, pushing her bear to climb. Faster! Faster! At the crest, she leapt from the saddle and landed with a grunt. Pain rolled through her, but she kept going. The crowd was thick with spectators, their cheers punctuated by the ringing of clashing weapons. Move! She tried to scream, but her throat still burned, the word flaking away. Move! As she shoved through the throng surrounding the fighting ring, Zuljara did not have to turn to know her brother was at her side. She could feel his presence simply shift into place, as it often did.
Your chieftain said to move!
Zul'Jan boomed, louder and with more fervor than Zuljara had ever heard from him. People turned, saw them, then obediently stepped aside. Zuljara raced forward, reaching the arena floor just as Kolanji ducked a swing from Zarama's axe, then drove the sharpened end of his mace into her middle. The sound of her mother's flesh splitting left Zuljara frozen. She stared as Zarama clutched at the weapon shoved in her belly. Kolanji yanked it free, and Zarama fell forward, dropped to her knees in the dust, catching herself on one hand. As she sank lower and lower to the ground, everything seemed to slow. Kolanji raised his arms wet with blood into the air as he gloated. Zuljara couldn't hear his words over the rising thunder of her own heart in her ears. Mother, no! Impossibly, Zarama turned as if she'd heard that desperate cry. Her eyes found Zuljara. She saw her daughter. She saw the axe. The fear in her gave way to peace. She smiled, blood-stained lips moving around words that would never reach Zuljara's ears. Then she fell still. The sight of her mother lying there, the red pooling beneath her, belted something inside Zuljara like a mallet striking steel. The molten cold of grief that had seized her limbs thawed beneath the rage pouring through her. It bubbled and frothed, scorching her insides, filling her until it had nowhere else to go. Then it burst free. There would be stories told and songs sung of Zuljara's first true war cry. How it erupted from her like fire from a volcano, hot and scorching. How it shook the ancient stones of the broken throne and beyond. Any who heard would liken it to the shriek of a great eagle. And for days afterward, those who weren't there but still heard believed Akilzon had returned. But it was not so. The Loa had not returned. But a legend was born.
Ah, the child.
Kolanji laughed.
Just in time to be made an orphan.
He raised a hand and beckoned.
Come on, then.
Jara, wait, Zul'Jan began. But she was already racing across the arena floor. Kolanji stepped away from her mother's body to face her. She threw her full weight into a swing. The blade of her axe crashed into Kolanji's mace. The force of it reverberated through her, stunning her just long enough for his meaty fist to find her jaw. She saw stars. The taste of blood filled her mouth. She threw herself backward to create distance and lifted her weapon. Kolanji chuckled, low and taunting.
You have fire. I'll give you that. When I'm finished with you, I think I will take your head and your brothers.
He glanced to where Zul'Jin stood at the arena's edge, shouting for her to fight.
Keep the family together, yeah?
You'll be the one to lose your head! Zul'Jara screamed as she hammered at the much larger troll, fury powering her frenzied strikes. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she knew she was being reckless. If she continued to attack in a rage, she'd eventually leave herself open. Another part of her didn't care. If she let go of her anger, the anguish beneath it would swallow her, ending the fight before Kolanji could. She swung again. This time the head of Kolanji's mace caught her axe at an angle and held it fast. The vile branch chieftain yanked her forward as he leaned close, his face wild with glee.
This has been fun, but...
He stiffened, his eyes locked on the axe.
Impossible.
Zul'Jara lashed out with a kick, driving her heel into his gut. Sand flew as he stumbled back. His eyes flashed as his arrogance faltered for an instant.
That axe would not save you any more than you could save your mother, child.
Chieftain! She spat through clenched teeth. Then she flew at him, swinging again and again, faster and faster. Metal screamed, sparks vanished in the sunlight. Her heart thrashed, wild and furious. She felt her muscles straining. Her grip on the axe tightened, fury in her heart, fire in her throat. Agony tearing free in a scream that emptied all of her. She swung. The blade caught flesh, tore through sinew and bone. Kolanji's smile disappeared. Then his head thudded to the ground. His body followed. For a moment, Zul'Jara stared. The urge to drive the axe into him over and over again nearly took hold, but she fought it down, swallowed it. Another scream welled inside her. Instead, she turned to the now silent arena, her eyes scanning the faces of those who would call her enemy, friend, leader, her people. She stepped over Kolanji's form and raised the axe overhead.
I am Zul'Jara, bloodborn of Zorama, chieftain of the Amani of the Forest Tribes.
Her voice held steady, even as her very being quaked.
Let anyone who doubts me step forward!
The vile branch chieftain was left in the dirt, as Zul'Jara, her brother, and others lifted her mother from the arena floor. They wrapped her in sacred linen and placed her on their shoulders, keeping her aloft the entire way to Amanizar. Zul'Jin tried to convince his sister to step away long enough to be seen by the healers, but she refused. The pain was the only thing keeping her from collapsing. Kinduru met them at the edge of the settlement, his face wet with tears, his expression mournful. He led the way to the altar where Zarama would be prepared for final rites. Everything after that was a blur, people coming and going, offering congratulations and condolences. Zul'Jara remained at her mother's side, and Zul'Jin at hers. She held her brother as he sobbed. By nightfall, Zul'Jara had somehow bathed and dressed for the ceremony to come. Torches were arranged in a circle around a grave so fresh the air still smelled of earth. She stood silent, unmoving, as they put her mother in the ground. Afterward, she found herself centered in a ring of firelight as Kinduru addressed those gathered to pay their respects. People would talk about how beautifully he spoke of the fallen, but Zul'Jara would never be able to recall the words. She'd never know if this upset her or not. The next day would find her seated in the great hall in her mother's place. One by one, the other leaders came, offering respect and tribute to the new chieftain. All but the Vile Branch, who had gathered their chieftain on his head and faded into the forests. Zuljara accepted gifts, passing them on to her brother. The first of many apologies she would offer for her words beneath Akilzon's temple. He quietly accepted, his face that same unmoving mask. That night there were no celebrations, no grand feasts, only the emptiness of loss. Finally, the conclave concluded, and Zuljara was free to return to her quarters, the chieftain's quarters. With all the commotion of the funeral and the conclaves, she hadn't gotten the chance to do more than change her attire. But now, in the stillness of the aftermath, she stared at the trappings that had belonged to her mother, mixed with her own personal items. This wasn't right. She shouldn't be in here. This was her mother's place. These were her mother's things. She had no right. A weight had settled over Zuljara at the arena and grown heavier with every step of the funeral procession. Heavier still with each commendation or commiseration, all of it driving home the truth that her mother was gone and she was to blame. More stones around her neck dragging her ever downward until she finally collapsed. At some point, Zul'Jin joined her in the dark. Rauji came as well, quiet in her companionship. Eventually, Zuljara managed words enough to request to be left alone. The night stretched on until there was a knock at the door. Zuljara didn't answer. It opened anyway. Kinduru entered carrying something. Her mother's axe.
It's yours now,
the speaker murmured, his voice thick with emotion. He set it on the mantel where Zarama often kept it.
What happened isn't your fault, Jara.
Kinduru began. A low growl rose from her chest. She didn't want to talk about this. The speaker must have sensed as much, because he hesitated before clearing his throat and continuing.
Zarama knew the risks and went anyway. She offered herself up in your place as any mother would.
Tears welled instantly. They followed the tracks already staining her face, a cruel imitation of the lines her mother had painted just days before.
You carry so much.
Kinduru knelt and leaned in to gently press his brow to hers.
She wouldn't want you to carry this too.
Zuljara threw her arms around her uncle and wailed. They're both gone!
I know.
He held on tight as her body shook and heaved. Her fists battered his shoulders and back. How could they leave me?
Let it out, Jara.
His voice cracked around his own shuddering breaths.
Let it out.
He let her cry and curse and spit and fight, all without letting her go. When the storm inside her ebbed, Kinduru helped her to her feet and embraced her one last time. There was still much to do, and already talk of Vile Branch discontent. The speaker turned to go but paused when Zuljara called to him. Uncle! Her eyes went to Akilzon's axe where it lay after she'd discarded it upon returning from the arena. Kolanji's blood still darkened the blade's edge. Remove that thing from my sight. Kinduru's brow furrowed.
Are you sure? Maybe if we put it...
No! That frown deepened.
After you worked so hard to earn Akilzon's blessing, you would discard it.
Blessing? Zuljara heard herself laugh. It rang hollow. That thing is a curse. I don't want it anywhere near me.
But the lower...
I prayed to Akilzon at the temple. Fury crawled up her throat and beat against the back of her teeth. And what did the lower do for me, huh? Sent me to watch my mother's death. Arrived too late to save her. The lower were not there for me, for us. My mother was. And so it is her axe I will wield as chieftain. She trembled with rage, but somehow her words remained steady. Take it away. Kinduru bowed low.
As you wish, my chieftain.
trust I'll see ya in World of Warcraft midnight. Remember, the Armani need no one.
Because they never give up. They never forget. And you certainly will, Suljara. So, what we mainly learned from that. Stuff that had happened before we got there. Involving her becoming the new chieftain of the Amani, though there's still discontent among the tribes of the Amani. A nice reminder, of course, of the multiple tribes. It's not just one group, that there's different tribes. They're part of the forest trolls. Wow, the Vile branch. It's kind of like how when we went to Zandalan, we encountered the blood trolls. Yeah. So there's a couple things I want to do before we actually start. I know I keep putting it off. I keep talking about how excited I am to go there, but I really am just kind of like, I don't know, trying to emphasize and add even more to the hype about all this. I really am. Just because I want to help emphasize this stuff. Not to mention, of course, also, hold on one second. Let me see if I can pull this up. To emphasize the importance about all this. So, actually, let me go ahead and also get the game back up. I had the game turned off just to make sure we didn't have any interference in terms of the sound there. So, but let me get the game back up. I was also doing a bit of research while that was going on because I actually tried something before this and I wasn't sure if I was able to pull it off. But then I went and checked another post, and it turns out there may be a way we can do this. We just have to see if it's still possible. Do a little bit of investigating, as it were. So. There's also something else I want to do that I don't think I ever actually did until I just looked up, apparently, how, where, and how. And I'm going to give it a try. So there's a couple different things I want to do here. So let's see. There's a couple different ways I can go about doing this. Yeah, we'll do this. Actually, I could probably do both on this character now I think about it, because this is a... Yeah, I probably could, actually, now that I think about it. So, one of the things I was wondering about is, with this massive rework to the zone, is it possible that the old content is gone? And then I was like, wait a minute, no, it's actually still here. So this is one of the things, this right here is one of the big reasons why. Now, this is the Cataclysm version because it's this guy Dakara who's there instead of Zul'jin. That's honestly the main thing that was changed from this when they made it from Burning Crusade to Cataclysm. Otherwise, for the most part, this is still the same thing that it was back in the Burning Crusade, except there's no Zul'jin there anymore, which I honestly, gosh, Blizzard, please let us be able to access the old TBC version of Zul'Aman that had Zul'jin in it. I know that sounds like a minor thing, but honestly, a lot of people would really love that. Not necessarily just, like, I'm not saying bring back the old bear reward. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying some of us want to do this again, but see Zul'jin himself there. There's a reason him being there is a big deal. So there's a couple things I really want to emphasize about why this is a big deal. And I think one of the things I can do here, I actually do it on the same character. This is a level 72 character, so it's not a character that's like ready to go to do the midnight content. And because of that, I believe, now I actually test this out because I tried to go to the Silvermoon portal. It took me to the midnight version of Silvermoon. And I was like, isn't it possible to somehow go back to the old version? And apparently there is a way. It's just a little complicated. But there's something else I want to do really quick before we do that. And I'll start talking about this as we are flying to Revendreth, because as you can see, I actually did have this druid join the Venthyr. So he is going to technically have the... where is it? Well, there's Ravenous Frenzy. But Door of Shadows, there it is. So Door of Shadows is apparently key to this. To being able to actually do this.
The Arbiter sees all truths.
So, some of you may be going, well, who is Zul'jin? I mean, I already showed him in the trailer, but let me give you a bit more of a background. Zul'jin was the warlord of the Amani Forest Trolls and the chieftain of the Amani tribe since before the Second War. We just had a whole questline about the Second War with Eretor and and Terralia and all that stuff, right? So he was, in fact, he was in Warcraft 2, if I recall. Zul'jin was a fierce enemy of the High Elves, as you saw in the trailer. The Elves and their alliance, with whom he shared many years of conflict. Zul'jin and the Amani tribe were allied with the Orcish Horde for Warcraft 2, but Zul'jin himself was captured near its end by Halduran Brightwing. Do you remember him? We've already met him in this. He's the guy in that trailer who took Zul'jin's eye. That was him. In whose custody he lost his eye and his arm. I cut off my own arm. Now, some have wondered, why did he not regenerate? Because the thing is, trolls have this amazing ability to regenerate themselves. And he had been able to strike deals with certain Loa, certain deals allowing him to be able to be very powerful and have great regen. However, upon gaining his freedom, he went into hiding to rebuild his army and plan attack on the remnants of the High Elves, now known as the Blood Elves. But one of the things he did actually caused him to kind of lose that deal with the Loa, also letting him lose his ability to regen his arm and his eye. So he was killed by Azerothian adventurers. Oh, that just who raided Zul'jin. Okay, so it's just saying that. But that's not necessarily... That's a little summary. This is the more detailed stuff that's important here. He was known as a fearsome troll leader by the High Elves. He was infamous for his daring raids on the outskirts and villages of Quel'Thalas, known to swiftly strike at High Elven settlements. By the way, if you're wondering where I'm reading this from, it's from the Wowpedia page. It's a nice refresher. And then to disappear before the High Elves could marshal a counterattack. The Farstriders in particular considered Zul'jin their most hated enemy, as his raids had frequently cost the lives of their comrades. His ruthlessness and cunning were feared by the High Elves. Zul'jin's hatred for the High Elves was as fierce as his reputation. He considered them invaders and usurpers, responsible for stealing Amani land and spilling Amani blood. Remember what he said, "This was our land. Troll land. We Amani was here before anyone." He claimed that, like the Akir and the Night Elves years before, the High Elves had failed to wipe out the Amani, and that the trolls would never truly go away. Zul'jin had long sought a way to dismantle the High Elves' magical defenses and believed that the runestones may have held the key to their subversion. He believed that the Sunwell to be the ultimate source of the elves' power. To this end, he captured a number of elves over the years and attempted to torture them into revealing their secrets. He once had the ranger Lorthamar Thoron in his grasp, who did have this information, but Zul'jin conceded that the Elf Rangers were a tough breed and did not truly expect his prisoner to talk. Instead, he hoped that the gruesome death that he would give Thoron would compel the other captured elves, including the priestess Liadrin, her apprentice Galel, and the magister Darkon Drathir, to tell him what he needed. Zul'jin offered them one chance to spare themselves this fate. Silence was his answer. The warlord reflected that the elves were too proud, that perhaps they enjoyed the slaughter. He promised them that the Amani would fight to the last. Zul'jin then began his torture of Lorthamar and painted his own face with the ranger's blood. The elves hurried to free themselves, and in the ensuing struggle, Liadrin attacked Zul'jin with a mental assault that left him reeling in pain. By the time the furious Amani warlord had recovered, Darkon's power had replenished, and the mage teleported the group to safety. Zul'jin's brutal torture of Lorthamar would not be forgotten by the elves. I am certain that to this day, Lorthamar has not forgotten about that. Okay, so let me actually see, because I have the coordinates here. I want to set myself up here for this really, really quick. Wait, no, this is the wrong... No, hold on. I'm on the wrong tab. My bad. Here it is. Okay, okay. 6542. Apparently it's like right over here. In a cellar, I think, is what it said. Now these guys are 60 and I'm 72, so this shouldn't be an issue. Trying to figure out.
Sin stones carry more
Not
than
right
just
now,
the
accuser.
weight
Not
of
right now.
one's
Not right now. Not right now. There's supposed to be some kind of cellar around here. I'm trying to figure out where that is. See, this is why I would love to see like a visual of where this is, so I can make sure I know exactly what to look for and where to go and how to do it. It says Zul'jin can be found in Revendreth, hidden in a cellar in the Halls of Atonement area. The alcove entrance is at 6542, with the cellar entrance hidden under a carpet. So that's why I'm like, okay, I can see the coordinates in there. 6542, apparently. I'm seeing this, I'm like, wait a minute.
I surrender to the Vandir's will.
Trying to see. Like, is this actually the area right here? Just like, hold on a second. Hidden under a carpet, apparently, is what it says. To get past the carpet, you need to be able to have the Door of Shadows ability, which a Venthyr character does have. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, is it this one? I think it is. Because I see this, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, hold on a second. It's like, apparently this looks like as if it's covering a cellar, right? And like, how do you open this is what I want to know. But apparently you're supposed to...
Message for you, son.
Hello, Krista. How are you? You are catching me in the midst of trying to find a very relevant character to the story of the zone that we're going to be starting tonight. I was actually just giving kind of a lore history lesson. Because I can see right down there. So it's clearly down there. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not really sure how exactly this works. I may have to look up a video to see how this this works. But actually, while I'm waiting for that to come off cooldown, let me pick up where I left off. You just ended your stream, your wind down? Oh, I hope you had a wonderful stream. Let's see. Ah, here. This is where I was. Zul'jin was the first forest troll since those terrible wars to reunite with the tribes of Zulaman and beyond. One by one, he had challenged the other tribe leaders and defeated them, whether at combat, or at racing, or at some other task, and all he had bowed before him, pledging themselves and their tribes to his rule. The forest trolls were a single people once more. He believed that with the Horde's help, that they would wipe the world clean of humans and elves alike, rule the forest once more, and avenge the ancient Amani Empire. So then we fast forward to Warcraft 2. During the First War, the Orcish war chief Blackhanded sent Orgrim Doomhammer to approach Zul'jin and asked him to join the Horde. Zul'jin initially refused, believing that the trolls were capable of handling the elves themselves and not seeing any benefits to joining wars against others. Months later, however, he was captured by humans, held in a prison camp near Durnhold Keep, and freed by Orgrim himself. Remember, Durnhold is where Thrall actually broke free from his enslavement and freed the orcs who were imprisoned in those camps. Impressed, he agreed to join the Horde and assisted it through the Second War. Zul'jin's goal was not hindered by this alliance, and he believed that the Horde would have no use for the lands of the Amani that the Amani would take over. On the other hand, Zul'jin himself had no desire to extend his conquest beyond Quel'Thalas, and thus was confident in his new allies and the Honorable Doomhammer. Ultimately, Zul'jin was most eager to utterly conquer his mortal enemies, the High Elves of Quel'Thalas, with the Horde's help, and claiming King Anastarian Sunstrider's head, and forcing it to watch Quel'Thalas burn, was his primary goal during this time. He assisted the Horde in reaching Quel'Thalas, and went on ahead to claim his vengeance upon the Elves for the fateful Troll War so many years ago. Zul'jin fought throughout the Second War, Warcraft 2, the game, and he and Doomhammer developed a mutual respect. However, Zul'jin grew furious when Doomhammer was not only failed to destroy Quel'Thalas, but also abandoned his siege against the elves in favor of assaulting Lordaeron. Zul'jin and his army stayed behind, continuing to fight on, yet the High Elven King seized the chance to upset the balance of power between them for good, and sent out spellcasters and priests to help the rangers and warriors crush the Amani. Zul'jin was cornered near Daromir Lake, unable to reach the water due to the walls of rampant dragon fire scorching the area. He put up a fierce fight, but his entourage was cut down, and Zul'jin was taken into the custody of the elf Halduran Brightwing, who I said we met earlier, who set up camp and waited for the fire to subside. Chaining Zul'jin to a stone pillar, Halduran's men brutally tortured Zul'jin for hours on end, even gouging his eye out. Krista, you missed me showing a trailer from years ago from this game where they actually had this trailer where Zul'jin narrates some of this, and one of the scenes is, "The elves took my eye," and it shows like the tip of the knife just gets right up to his eye before they cut it off. And then, "I cut off my own arm to escape them." Halduran was a close friend and comrade of Lor'themar, and he still remembered his friend's ordeal at Zul'jin's hands year before. So he declined counsel to simply execute Zul'jin, hoping to drag his prisoner to Silvermoon alive so that Lor'themar could decide his fate. Yet this decision to keep the chieftain alive for punishment and revenge rather than execute him on the spot, many more of the Rangers had lost friends and family to Zul'jin's constant campaigns, would prove short-sighted. In a daring rescue attempt, Amani raiders wounded Brightwing and caused enough havoc for Zul'jin to escape, the chieftain cutting off his own arm with a discarded spear to do so. Zul'jin's escape forever solidified his legendary reputation among trolls of all kinds. Denouncing the Horde, the Amani went back into their seclusion, watching and waiting for the right time to strike out against the elves once more. Zul'jin's chance came at last following the Scourge invasion of Quel'Thalas, the events of Warcraft 3, in which roughly 90% of the kingdom's elven population was slain. The trolls readied an armada of destroyers to attack the Isle of Quel'Danas, now undefended, with the elves' great shield dispelled, and to secure the Sunwell as a weapon against them. While this particular endeavor ended in failure, Zul'jin nonetheless seized the chance to attack the elves' tenuously held settlements in both Eversong Woods and the Ghostlands, though again, these attacks were met with only short-term victories. The elves, now calling themselves the Blood Elves, had proved more resilient than the trolls had expected. Zul'jin's re-emergence became apparent after a raid of Alliance treasure hunters attempted to plunder Zul'Aman. The sole survivor of this attempt informed the Blood Elves of Zul'jin's return. Zul'jin had retired to the city of Zul'Aman, the capital of the Amani trolls, where he called upon mysterious dark powers to rebuild his army. While the eyes of Azeroth focused on the fight against the Burning Legion and the expedition to Outland, treasure seekers invaded Zul'Aman, rekindling Zul'jin's hatred of the outside world, particularly the High Elves of Quel'Thalas. Upon hearing that these newly christened Blood Elves had become a part of the Horde in his absence, the infuriated Zul'jin declared war on both the Horde and the Alliance, reaffirming his hatred for the outside world. Zul'jin resolved to take down all of his enemies with this new dark power. After that, the Witch Doctor, or rather, the appropriate title for him was the Hex Lord, Malakras, suggested a way for the Almighty to get great power through dark ways, with which Zul'jin, in his anger, agreed. Having survived his ordeal with the High Elves and indeed the entire Scourge invasion, Zul'jin and the Amani persisted in their goal to wipe the elves out. Skipping ahead here to the more relevant part here. So, it doesn't go into detail about some of the other things here, but one of the other things that is important to note is that the reason why this ended up happening here is because Malakras... So, I mentioned how Zul'jin had his deals with some of these Loa for great regen, but then he lost them. And he was so hateful of what happened, and he wanted to destroy them so badly. Malakras took this opportunity to say, "Don't worry, man. I got an idea. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna be killing the Loa and taking their power for ourselves, and then we'll use that power to destroy all our enemies." So, the trolls, these Amani were doing their thing in their corner of the world, but the reason why we then ended up having to go there to put a stop to them was because they were going out and raiding nearby villages in Blood Elf and territory for both factions, and taking people, because in order for them to do this, they needed souls, which means they had to go find innocent people to sacrifice. And that is why we then had to go there and be like, nope, we can't let you do this anymore. So that led to the opening of the Zul'Aman 10-man raid in the Burning Crusade, in which case, as I tried to show here in this guide, this was basically the raid back then, except instead of Dakara, it was Zul'jin. But the idea here was that, and when you look at the map here, which I can't wait for us to compare this map when we get to the zone, but these were basically the 4 of the Loa that they were trying to kind of like take the power for themselves and use for themselves. And they were each represented by an avatar here. And it's going to be very interesting, the callbacks that we may or may not actually notice when we go there. And then, of course, we had Malakras, and then Zul'jin was there as well. Now, the reputation for this raid is that it's amongst the greatest raids that was ever made for the game. It was also extremely hard. Very, very difficult, but also very rewarding. There was a very specific reward you could get for being able to do a specific run so it was known as the 4 chest run. Basically, what it was is you had a time limit, and you had to take down all 4 of these bosses here in a specific amount of time. The moment the doors opened, a timer would start, and you then had to make your way to all 4 of these bosses here and take them down that time limit. to get a very specific reward. And from what I have heard, I never got to experience this personally because I wasn't playing WoW at the time. But I do know somebody. Shout out to the lore runner. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just give him a little shout out here as well. Hold on, let me spell that a little bit more correctly. There we go. Shout out to the lore runner. He has been playing World of Warcraft since it was an alpha over 20 years ago. And he was a great tank. He's done a full lore run of World of Warcraft. It's all on YouTube, and I go back to it constantly to reference sources and things that he has said. But the thing that I remember him talking about was he was a tank back in those days, and he actually tanked these 4 chest runs. And when he talks about how incredibly hard it was and how difficult it was to pull off, I could tell he really means it. And he was able to pull off because you got a very specific reward for doing so, and it was a specific mount. It was a bear mount that you could have, which is no longer in the game. But there's a version of this that still remains to stay. It's just now with Dakara here. But I was concerned about whether or not I would actually have the opportunity to actually go back and show y'all if I wanted to. Now let's... Alright, I need to visually see what it is I'm doing wrong here. How to get to Zul'jin in Revendreth. Let me see if there's a video on this. Okay, no, here we go. Let me see if I can, if this video includes how to get to him. Alright, so it looks like they are going to show how to do this. Let me see here. So it looks like I actually am at the right location. Okay, they are standing on the car. Oh, I see. They're positioning the camera to show that, yeah, there is something underneath the carpet. But in order for you to actually do something about, like... Okay, so apparently you have to manipulate the camera. Oh, okay, I see, okay. So you have to kind of, like, manipulate the camera here, it looks like. Because apparently the way this is supposed to work is you are able to manipulate the camera so that it can, like, target underneath or something like that. Because the stairs are supposed to be, like, right there. I'm trying to see how you can do that. Ah, it's just not doing it. I gotta figure out if there's, like, a camera setting that I can change to fix this. But I just saw them do it here on this video where they were able to, like, manipulate the camera. I'm wondering like, what setting I need to change in order to make that happen. But okay, you use that to go down, and then you go down into the area, and in one of the rooms, that's why I never found him before, because you need one of these abilities in order to actually find it. Okay. Basically, what it says is that there's only 2 ways that you could probably be able to pull off doing this. You either need an event your character that has Door of Shadows, or you need a Warlock that has Demonic Gateway. Now, here's my question. When it comes, can I be able to do something about the camera? Has to be a way to manipulate this camera so I can be able to actually target going underneath. Otherwise, I may have to just hop on my Warlock and bring them here. I just thought it would be convenient to do this because this character could go ahead and do that while also being able to teleport, you know, with the Door of Shadows, but... That is so inconvenient. Like I'm trying to target down to be able to do that and just won't do it. Ah, man. Let me see here. Hold on, let me see if they mentioned something about a certain setting. Never mind. Apparently, there's no commentary for this video because I have the audio on. And there's no audio for this. So that is unfortunate. Let me take a look at the comment section of this page. See if there's anything that... No. That is very annoying. There's gotta be a certain sweet spot for the camera. No. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, I think there's still a way I can do this, but I think what I'm going to do instead... Let's see... Yeah, the hinterlands. That should be a fast, convenient way. So let me check something else, in case I want to show y'all old Zulaman. Krista, you also missed, we were listening to a short story that was posted by Blizzard about what has been going on in the zone we're going to, leading up to us going there. And basically what we learned is that the new chieftain has been having it rough. She unfortunately, due to conflicts with the other tribes and disagreements in regards to who should be leading Diamani and all that, she unfortunately lost her mother in the process. I'm trying to remember where exactly is the path we go to in order to actually get to Eversong. Is it this way? Or is it over here? I don't think it'd be over here, because this is Acris. Yeah, it's got to be like over here somewhere. So there's supposed to be a pathway. Maybe it's up here. Yeah, I think it's over here, actually. Yeah. Here we go. Ah, there is Zydormi.
Well met.
Alright. Beyond the lands of midnight. Ah.
Safe travels.
So that's how you go to the old area. So this is how we get to the Ghostlands. And of course we can't fly here, because of course not. I'd hate for it if for some reason I can't be able to show y'all Zul'jin just because, I don't know, they fixed the, they made this camera issue just kind of like a problem, you know? That'd be really unfortunate. But this is a fun opportunity for me to show y'all and remind y'all, oh yeah, this is what it used to look like before they changed a bunch of it. But I wonder how many people are going to know whether or not Zydormi is there to let you have the opportunity to go back and do these. I'm sure word will spread at some point. Of course, these are all level 30. So I don't have to worry about, like, oh, I run into something that'll kill me. Nah, we're fine. Although we may not have him do this right now. I may just position him here and leave him here for later. But I just really want to try and figure out how it is that you can actually be able to actually, like, get to him. But apparently it's possible to actually like use a gateway, and I may have to see, like, is there somehow a way I can, like, position it under there, you know? And of course, because this was redone for Cataclysm, Vol'jin's here along with Varisa, and of course Haldoran Brightwing is here. So welcome back to Old Suleiman. Echoes of unfulfilled vengeance linger in the one-time capital of the Amani tribe, Suleiman. Though the Amani trolls was denied his... the Amani trolls answered their warlord's call to arms, Zul'jin was denied his goal of restoring the empire to its former glory. So yeah, that's more up to date for the Cataclysm version. So...
These be the dark times. Spirits bewitch ya.
So here's the fun part. Follow me, it be taken to both of us to open these gates. The ritual to open the gates be requiring both of us to hit the gong together. So this was, you had to like do some kind of proper timing in order to get this right. And there were times I just simply couldn't get it right, but hey, it looks like I did get it right. Hear me, Zandalari scheme, or rather Amani.
More intruders! Sound the alarm!
The spirit's gonna feast today. Begin the ceremonies. Sacrifice the prisoners. Make room for our new guests.
So yeah, there's the timer. Timering until the prisoners are killed. This is why it's the 4 chest run. So the usual pattern, from what I understand, was Akilzon first. Akilzon? I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right. Nalarak, and then Janalai, and then Halazi. So you can see all these here. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of stuff here. And of course, you know, there's a bunch of like Zandalar trash here, but so a lot of these other trash here, like all these Amani guys, a lot of these were here when it was like first out. But from what I understand, like going through all these, this gauntlet was not easy and pretty rough. Again, that's why I gave Lore Runner the shout out. This is stuff he talked about in his lore run. Forgot that apparently you have to kill all this trash first in order to actually prompt the guy that you would then take down in order to face the boss here. Or you could just go right past him, because apparently he wouldn't trigger, and you would go to the boss here. So this, you'll also note that when I don't target him, okay, it's not showing, but he's supposed to have the title, the Eagle Avatar, because Akilzan's supposed to be the Loa of Eagles. As a former shaman of the Amani tribe, Akilzan had a preternatural ability when working with the element of air. This talent caught the eye of Hexlord Malakras and made finding a host for the troll's Eagle Guard an easy task. Now, when you pull him, he says something that I've always remembered.
I be the predator, you the prey.
Just let this show off a tad bit here. Notice all the other trash is now getting pulled here. So he would call in these eagles to help out. Again, this is supposed to be a guy who's basically channeling the power of the Eagle Loa. From what I understand, you wouldn't actually DPS the eagles. You would just be DPSing the boss and just try to survive all this. I'm waiting for him to cast the other ability that he would do here. Oh.
Don't be shy. Thousands have come before you. You'll not be alone in your service.
So there's the storm. And so basically, from what I understand, there was supposed to be like this umbrella kind of thing you would get that you would have your group huddle around to survive that storm, because otherwise it would just straight up kill you. So then you have hostages here that you can be able to save. I'm sorry, over here. Whoops.
Assist me.
Now, from what I understand, you actually wouldn't bother looting or laying these guys out, because every single second counted.
Yeah, man.
Now, when you defeat the boss, you do get added time on the timer. But, according to Lore Runner, every single second counted. So you didn't even though you got the extra time, every single second mattered. So you would just be immediately on the move, heading to the very next boss area. Now this next one, this be the Bear Avatar.
Get the move on, gods. It be killing time.
An avatar for the lure of bears. And of course you can see those Amani bears there.
Gods, go already! Who you be more afraid of, huh? Them or me?
I heard some of this trash was also really annoying and tough to do back in the day.
Ride out there and bring me back some heads!
Like the medicine man would actually drop a certain totem that would actually grant invincibility.
I be losing my patience. Go on. Make them wish they was never born.
Alright, so this is Nalarak. Hex Lord Malakras considered Nalarak renowned for both his fearsome rage and savage strength on the battlefield, the ideal vessel for the bear god's essence. Hold on.
You be dead soon enough.
So from what I understand, this guy was pretty rough in the amount of
Bring the pain!
bleeding damage he would do. He would also put something on you called Surge to increase the amount of damage you would take.
Bring the pain!
I bring the pain!
Take your pick, trespassers. Any of my priests be happy to
Bring the
accommodate.
pain! I be waiting on the other side.
So I think my trinket triggered and killed him. But basically, he would change into a bear form and do extra bleeding damage and such. So from what I understand, like it was really
Help me.
like tanks really had to like
What you want?
do good at mitigating damage, while the healers were just having to just pour heals into the tank.
Yeah.
So then we had another gauntlet here, with a bunch of Dragonhawks as well, because we're about to encounter the avatar of the Dragonhawks. The Dragonhawk Lua. And you can see there are a ton of these things. Lots of trash. A massive gauntlet that you had to go through in order to get to the boss, who's up there. So yeah, look at this gauntlet. Look at this trash. So now imagine you are like yeah, you've got the timer and you've like, oh, you've gotten some extra time, but you're just like, ugh. And again, the game was different back then, back in the days of BC.
Talk to me.
So this is Janalai. The Dragonhawks are deft predators that rend their foes with razor sharp talons. This mindset and method of attack were also favored by one of the Amani tribe's highly skilled rogues, Janalai. So he would do a flame breath, he would put out fire bombs, he would do a frenzy. But the other thing he would do, you see those eggs on the side? He would put out a call for trolls to come and hatch the eggs and have a bunch of Dragonhawks show up. So from what I understand, you would basically have the group focus on one troll to kill him and then let him go send out the others, so you would handle just one side. Because eventually he just does, I think it's, yeah, hatch all eggs, where he just has all of them hatch all at once.
Spirits of the wind, be your doom.
Just seeing how much of his mechanics I might be able to show off here.
Where me hatcher? Get to work on them eggs.
So see, yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. Where he's like, go on, go hatch them eggs. So you're facing the boss, and then they go out and they start hatching the eggs over there. And now here come a bunch of the hatchlings.
Tazagachu.
How are ya?
So then, we make our way across to the last of these. And of course there'll be some trash here as well that you have to go through. Again, just massive crazy gauntlets on your way to try to pull this off. Bunch of lynxes here, because we're about to face the avatar of the Lure of Lynxes. Now, as a reminder, Loas are able to be extremely powerful because they are like avatars and representations and such of of a certain thing. Depending on what it is, can also determine how incredibly powerful they are. So if you're the Loa of an entire species or an entire like concept, you could be extremely powerful because of that. I mention that because I mean that avatar of eagles, avatar of bears, avatar of lynxes, dragonhawks. Yeah, that's pretty powerful considering the sheer amount of them that there are in the world, right? But now you take into concepts such as, oh, I don't know, blood. And that's why Hakar, back in Azul Garub, is so powerful. So then here's Halazi. The lynxes of Azeroth are vicious hunters that shred their prey with fang and claw. Hex Lord Malakras mused that it was only right to seal the essence of the lynx god within one of the tribe's greatest hunters.
Get on your knees and bow to the fang and claw.
So from what I understand, if you had been able to actually make it to this guy with a decent amount of time left on the clock, you had pretty much been able to pull off the run. It's doing all the other stuff that was really tough. So the thing, you'll see that War Tome there? If he stands that, he keeps getting healing. But your healers could stand there and get a bunch of mana back. So then they're able to just go ahead and put out tons of healing, which is great because you saw how fast he attacks? That would have him just like do a ton of damage. You see right there, he then pops his own like enrage where all of a sudden he's just like, Rah! So now your tank is like, ah! Yeah. And then he would also do this ability where he would like split into like something else. So now the timer is gone because he took down all 4 of them. So you release the last of the prisoners that are here. Now, from what I understand, back in Burning Crusade, this was a gnome. They apparently changed it to a troll because they were trying to keep it up to date with all the Cataclysm stuff.
How you doing, man?
You not do too bad. Your efforts delayed the inevitable for a small time. Come to me now. You prove yourselves worthy offerings.
Oh, that'd be so much better. I be weak, but I remember hearing Tiamani and Zandalari talking about treasure hunt hidden in this very room. Oh, it may be in this urn over here. Stand back. Maybe it be in this over here. And so you can get a little bit of extra gold here. But she's like, no, okay, maybe it's be in this urn over here. She's just running around. Again, this makes more sense if you think about how she was a gnome and just running around like, oh, maybe it's this over here. Oh, maybe it's over here. Blah, 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 blah. Just running around like crazy, like gnomes do, you know. That's not the one. Let's try one of the other vases. And so then the last one right here.
Tazdingo.
Ah, there be something in that one. Go take a look. And so this is where you would get your bear mount. And again, you could only get this if you had been able to pull off saving all of them the 4 chest run. Getting all 4 of the bosses down in that time limit before that happened. So, if I understand, it was a really tough but rewarding run to do. So you can still get a bear mount, it's just not the same one from back then. It's colored a little differently. It's more of a pinkish version of that mount. I'll even hop on it and show it to y'all. The one that you got from this was actually a red one. So this is the one right here. Now this is one that I actually was able to get, I think this was a recolor they brought back. And apparently these are some others that we'll be able to get later on. I'm kind of spoiling myself about that. But this is the mount you get for doing this run now, if you want this bear mount. This is not the one from TBC, it was more red colored. And it's like, if you saw somebody with the red one version of this mount, that means they were part of a 4 chest run, which was a big success back in the day. It's kind of like one of those things you hop on, and people will be like, oh, you got that, dude. It's kind of like in Overwatch when you see somebody with a very like rare skin or a skin that you had to do something really tough to get, and you see somebody wearing that, you're like, oh, yo. So then this is Malakras. Rumored to be the most feared witch doctor of the Amani tribe in decades, Hex Lord Malakras has done the unthinkable and sealed the essence of several mighty troll animal gods in their strongest champions, keeping the darkest one for himself. I believe we still to this day do not know which one that is. I don't think they've ever clarified that. So I also want to point out that him having the title of Hex Lord is a massive deal. In troll culture, having the title of Hex Lord is usually regarded as like the highest rank of their type of, I guess, casters is what I could say. It's so like one of the equivalents I could say is that in Diablo 3, having the title of Wizard is like the highest rank among spellcasters. For trolls, considering the amount of witch doctors and shamans and such, like Hex Lord is like the highest rank for them. It doesn't necessarily make them like a leader or anything like that, but they actually went back and added... Oh, they haven't added a Demon Hunter or Evoke or any of that, but they have added a Death Knight one. But yeah, one of the things about him is that he actually had a... the ability to actually siphon a soul of a team member, and then he would have their ability. So if he siphoned me, he'd have Typhoon, Moonfire, Life Bloom. A Death Knight, he'd have Plague Strike, Death Decay, Bloodworms. So he could get something depending on like what your class was, which was actually kind of cool.
The shadow gonna fall on you.
So he has his own little demon here, Gazakroth, as well as a assistant, Allison and Teal.
Your soul gonna bleed. Your will belong to me now.
So yeah, there's the Siphon Soul.
This not the end for me.
He says that in it we have never seen him. Y'all, if we get some kind of Malacrass cameo in this expansion, dude, I would be so ecstatic about that.
Oh, now, everybody try to keep the Amani Empire down. Now, we got friends. We with the Zandalari now. We part of something bigger. You can't stop us all. The whole world going to drown in blood.
So that was a speech that it's a tad bit different, but that was basically the same thing that would have been said by Zul'jin back in the day. Instead, they put Dakara here, the Invincible, because this was a part of a whole revamp thing involving the Zandalar like coming back and such. So, yeah.
Maybe me for, but the Amani Empire never going to die.
I didn't really care about showing him off because, again, he's not Zul'jin. And it's just kind of eh. But then you can see the spirits of the Loa that were being used here. The Mani Lynx spirit, the Bear spirit, the Eagle spirit, and the Dragonhawk spirit. Yeah. Those are the Loa that they basically killed and tried to take their power. Yeah.
Generations. Yeah. Big thanks.
Wait, where'd he go?
Good job.
Where'd Vol'jin go? He just disappeared. I was going to turn in the quest and he just disappeared on me. Alright, well, whatever. So then this would play. This is the victory song that plays when you have defeated Zulaman. I love the Zulaman music, man. Alright, so Door of Shadows didn't work. So I'm going to try one more time to see if I can do this. I don't think it matters which warlock I take, honestly. It just has to be one that has the gateway. You know what we'll take? We'll take my troll warlock, Nixmon. We'll see if he wants to go pay old Zul'jin a visit. Let me see if there's another video on this.
escape for you.
Oh, I forgot I was still
Champion,
using this.
Zalatath and her devouring host lace.
I know. But we're not gonna be doing that right now. No, we're gonna be going to see if we can pay old Zul'jin a visit. Now, hold on a second. I need to make sure that I actually have the gateway. There we go. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to give up. Unless there's something I need to do now with the new changes to like the options and such in order to make this happen.
An agent of the Maw is attacking Oribos. Defend the Arbiter!
Don't tell me I have to do the intro.
Hold. The Maw's power does linger upon them, but I sense... No, that cannot be possible!
Okay. I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to hop on my main Warlock. Because I'm not going to bother going through all this in order to set that up. I'm just going to hop on the Warlock that I know did Shadowlands content. We're over 2 hours in and I have not started Zul'Aman like I have in the title. I mean, is it wrong that I wanted to do a good amount of build-up to emphasize how big a deal this is, at least to me? I'm sure it's a big deal to other players as well.
Champion, Zalatath and her devouring host lay siege to the...
Let's see. So yeah, I do need the gateway, so... I'll just take the portal here, take the portal to Shadowlands, and we'll go there. Okay. I didn't want it to take this long, I just didn't think I was going to run into this issue.
The purpose reveals our way.
Let me take another look, see if there's any other videos about this. A lot of them are about Zul'jin and Heroes of the Storm. I'm like, no. I think that's literally the only video that was made about this, which is really unfortunate. Like, there's no audio for this video. It just shows that there's apparently a certain angle that you can use to almost manipulate the camera, you know? And I'm just like, okay. Now, someone says in a comment from 2 months ago, apparently this seems to have been fixed, likely from a fun detected dev. I have Max Renown Venthier tunes from back in the day, and just attempted to see through the rug to no avail. I mean, why would they have this there if they didn't have an actual way for us to enjoy this little Easter egg of, you know, going to see Zul'jin? Like, I find it very hard to believe that they would have made a fix where you can't be able to actually go see Zul'jin anymore. I'm like, why? It's a cameo. Why would you prevent us from doing that? You know? I don't get that.
Release the hounds! Easily defeated.
Alright, so let me see here.
Always have an escape planned. A lesson I learned the hard way.
See, it's like, hello? It's apparently right there. Right? It's right there! It won't let me do it! Oh my gosh. That is so annoying! It's like, I want to, like, complain to a dev, like, excuse me, how is it we can't do this anymore? Why would you make it where we can't do this anymore? I don't understand. Like, the gate is down there. But for some reason, I'm not allowed to use it to go down there. And I don't know why. Oh, man. I can't tell y'all how disappointed I am that it doesn't allow me to do this. That's really, really upsetting. Let me look again on the Wowhead page here about this. No. It says currently only certain classes in order to get past the carpet. That's all that said. This is so upsetting for me. That for some reason I just am not allowed to do this. It literally will not let me go through the carpet. Even though the gateway is underneath it. Oh my gosh. Okay. I may have to do some more research, see if I can maybe find a way to show this off tomorrow. But it's like I haven't even started the zone yet, and that's what I wanted to do tonight. I really wanted to see him and show him off for this. I know he's down there, but for some reason they've made it where we can't do that. I just don't understand why. You put him down there and then you make it where nobody can go see him? Like, I just don't get that. There has to be another way in order to pull that off. And I just don't know what it is. But anyways. After the Amani's surrender, we demanded that Zul'jin relinquish our Lightwood and return to their lands. Even so, Zul'jin still lingers at the gates of Zulaman with his troops. Lady Liadrin and her Blood Knights hold the pass, and Liadrin is trying to remedy the situation with diplomacy, but she reports that aggression may begin anew. She requests your assistance in this precarious matter.
Go, quickly. Liadrin needs urgent assistance with the Armani.
I'm going to turn off the inky blackness and all the other stuff. I wonder if there could be some kind of camera add-on I could find to help me out with this. I don't know. I just don't understand why it would have been set up that way.
Over here, champion. The situation is escalating.
Zul'Jan?
If it's not about the Lightwood, I don't care.
You dare speak to me? I should cut out your
Leave my
tongue.
presence.
Anaria Shala.
Our ceasefire is strained, but holding. For now.
I am the Blade of the Light.
I had hoped that Zul'Jan would leave the Lightwood and return swiftly to his lands after our confrontation with him. But dealing with the Amani has never been a simple matter. Diplomacy is the only way to avoid more bloodshed, but Zul'Jan has finished listening to me. Perhaps he will listen to you.
There is no need for further bloodshed. Cease your raids, surrender the Lightwood, and return to your lands.
Our lands? This was all once our lands, and everything on it.
One of the other things we learned in that short story is that it's very clear that, at least with Zuljara, and I'm not sure how Zul'Jan feels about this, but they are not happy about the legacy that Zul'jin left behind for them. Zuljara clearly detests that she is Zul'jin's granddaughter. And I wonder if Zul'Jan feels the same way.
I don't speak to Gokinye.
The Blood Elves live on lands that they stole from us. You do not understand. By right, the Lightwood is ours. We need it. Return to Zulaman.
Do anything to my... You will take the Lightwood over my grave, Gokinye. Lightwood weapons are...
Avoid beast! Look out!
Warriors, attack!
Destroy the Amani. Break them. Sow chaos for the glory of Xal'atath.
Zuljara?
Sister!
Sister? Did you forget I'm the leader of Zulaman? Is that why you did not listen to me?
Hold! We are not here to fight.
Then why you be here? Tell me quickly, before I slice your head from your neck, elf. Speak. Now.
Keep your weapons where I can see
Their
them.
money need no one.
Pleasantries can wait.
I find myself relieved to discover that Zul'Jan is not the leader of the Amani, but this Zuljara might be worse. No matter. We must get on the other side of that gate and access the Twilight's Blade's threat to Eversong. The Amani were amongst the first tribes established at the birth of the troll species. They conquered and claimed the majority of the Eastern Kingdoms for thousands of years, until the elves colonized the land themselves.
I answer to the light.
We have two choices. We can either continue to talk to the Amani, or fight our way inside. I would still prefer to negotiate passage with Zuljara, but if our diplomacy does go awry, be ready. For now, follow my lead.
Shorel Aran. Allow us passage into Zulaman. We cannot sit idle while the Twilight amass close to our border.
Your border? If you want to die in Zulaman to the Twilight's blade, I won't stop you. But your army stays here.
Knights, stay and guard Eversong. Let us follow them, champion.
You'll recognize these of being the steps to the dungeon that I just showed you in old Eversong and Ghostlands. These very same steps. That we once took to enter the dungeon. Oh.
Wail in anguish. Let Xalatath hear your cries as your city burns.
You would let Gorkinye, the invaders, fight in Atalaman.
We needed our warriors to protect the city. Who else gonna help us, John?
So I believe that is her mother's axe, since she did not want to keep the axe that she got from the temple. But yeah, Zuljara looks awesome. And it was nice to see and understand their dynamic in that story.
Anaria Shala.
Wait, hold on.
Aldiel Shala.
The Amani had to make a bold move. The Lightwood was worth the risk and the loss. When you feel the Twilight's blade twist on the tip of a Lightwood spear, you'll see the light. Ha! It's ours by rights, and we'll put it to better use than any elf could ever hope to do.
Go, but don't go far.
I answer to the light.
I must say, I am surprised that Zuljara allowed us passage. It's been many years since I or anyone from Eversong has ever stepped foot on this side of the border. Stay sharp. This is a volatile situation. We may have to do more to engender their trust, but don't turn your back on the Amani.
I am the blade of the light.
The situation here is far worse than I imagined. The Twilight's blade and their leader, Mordoon, have completely overrun this city. We will use this opportunity to show the Amani how efficient we are at eliminating forces of the Void. Perhaps that will help convince them to stall hostilities between our people, at least until the current threat has passed.
Fight well.
What do you bring the leader of the Amani?
If you want to survive here in Atal Aman, find and beat the city's battle drums. That will rally our remaining soldiers forward to join the fight. It will also bring all the tribes of Zulaman, the Witherbark, the Raven Tusk, and the Shadow Pine to our aid, and tell our civilians to retreat to the altar of Malakras if we need to evacuate. Use the drums to spread the word. Find me at the altar of Malakras when you are done. There's an altar to Malakras after everything that happened.
I got my eye on you. When the war drums sound, reinforcements will rally at the center altar, Jean.
I can help you if you allow it, Zuljara. Find me once you have finished your mission, champion.
Defend the city! We be ringing the war drums of Tiamani.
Yes, sound your drums. Bring more feeble trolls to the slaughter.
So just, yeah, you can see the layout from how this used to be the dungeon. We would enter there, we'd go up there to fight the eagle, and then the bear over here, make our way over to fight the hawk, the dragon hawk, and then over here to fight the lynx. And then we'd come over here in the middle to face Malakras right here, and then Zul'jin would be waiting up ahead. So apparently this is now considered the altar of Malakras. Why they would have an altar to him, I don't know.
Protect the elders!
Let them through. That invader wears the blood of our enemies.
Pleasantries can wait.
Zul'jara's noticed your prowess in battle. Good. Let's continue demonstrating our usefulness if they push us out of their lands now. We'll have no way to keep an eye on the Twilight's blade until they are flooding through the gates into Eversong.
All the other tribe did not heed our drums. Why? Go back way.
Forget them, sister. We have the Lightwood. We need no other tribe than our Amani.
Many Amani found their way here, but we have more to aid, and even more enemies to kill.
You best be glad you amuse me.
The Twilight's Blade General, Mordoon, has got us by the throat. We're not winning and we are too few. We've got to evacuate before there's no one left, and hope that the other tribes meet us at Amanizar. In the meantime, I'm glad to use you while we rally the people of Zulaman. The civilians' lives are my priority. Go to Swiftclaw Terrace and evacuate the people there. Tear through the Twilight's blade as you go. Find your way to Zul'jan when you're done.
My blood for the Amani.
What do you want? You dare address Zul'jan, brother of Zul'jara and heir to the Amani.
The drums have sounded, but the elders have not come. We cannot lose them. They are linked to our culture, our sages and our best minds. Tarundo helped devise the Lightwood weapons, and Doru is our provisioner. We will need both if the battle goes on. Go find Doru in the market and Tarundo in the tribute hall. The last one is the old Loa speaker, our uncle, Kinduru. He may need a special persuasion to leave. I will go to Talonstrike Terrace to speak to him. Meet me there after you find the others.
Be gone. I'm trying.
We can split up to cover more ground. The champion and I will...
No. An elf in Zulaman is an elf with a blade in her back. You come with me. Jean, keep an eye on her friend.
I will watch their every move.
Alright, Zul'jan. They actually put up the Twilight's Blade sigil and banners here? No. That's not okay. Torundo.
If you want to help, then help.
And who are you? Is it time to leave Atalaman? Yes, Zul'Jan sent me to find you.
Kinde. Thanks for clearing the way, stranger.
No problem, man.
I'll help Zul'Jan prepare our ballistas once I see the children here to safety.
Shooting, man. Alright, I believe... Okay, so Duru is also over here. Let's go there. Let's head in this direction.
Your city is lost. Why resist Salatath's embrace?
Eh? Who are you?
Preoccupied with collecting the weapons. I heard the battle drum, so we can't leave these weapons behind. Zul'Jan sent me to find you.
Ugh, thank the ancestor. I hope Zul'Jan brought more lightwood back. I'm tired of working with only leftover scraps.
Now let's find Kinduru, who we of course got to know in the story.
Please, Uncle. We are under attack. Only take what you need and let's go.
Just a minute now, Shambai. Are you interested in the ways of the Loa?
Should I invoke the keen eyes of Akilzan or Halazi to dispel what's hiding it from me? Why not both? Yes, why not both? Wait. Why is your staff important? Oh, it is the staff held by Hashe, someone who unites the people and wields the power of the Loa. If the Loa ever speak to us again, we will need this staff. We haven't had the true Hashe in a very long time. But an old troll can hope. It makes sense that the Loa has not spoken to them since the events of the Zul'Aman raid. Why would they? Zul'Jin and Malakras tried to kill them. Of course the Loa would be like, we're not talking to y'all anymore. Wait, so who are those? Oh, they are two of our sacred Loa. Halazi, the Loa of the hunt, and Akilzan, the Loa of victory. Akilzan is keen-eyed. Halazi hides in the shadows, but he can reveal what is hidden. I spoke for Akilzan, the Loa of victory. Oh, how I want to hear the Loa again. Now, before this shrine is destroyed by the Twilight's blade. But the Loa are silent now. Maybe they hear us, maybe they don't. But maybe they are trying to speak, but we can't hear them because of something that we have done. If we had a Hashe, maybe. I mean, like I said, what you did was a long time ago. But it's time to evacuate.
I need my staff. Akilzan will never grant me favor again if I abandon the staff in battle.
Old man, the Loa stopped granting us favor decades ago, and we are better off without them.
I mean, one of the things I loved about when we quested in Zanbala in BFA were the quests involving the Loa, and there was quite a bit of it. And as we saw, that's not really the case. Zul'Jan is probably fooling himself. But it's been so long, they've had to kind of accept that.
Are you sure you didn't pack it already?
Here
My
it is.
staff! You got the eyes of our blessed Achilles-on herself.
We don't need anyone's help.
You create a way, but Mordoon continues to keep us scrambling and off balance. We're gonna need as many lightwood weapons as we can get to end this.
Oraka, why are you speaking?
Eagles, lower. We don't have time to dwell on the spirits of the past.
Yes? If it's not about the lightwood, I don't care.
You might be good at killing Demon Hunter, but so are we, Amani. And even more better at what? And even more to better our weapons. I took an army into Eversong to reclaim the Lightwood Forest for Diamani. It was against my sister's orders, yes, but Lightwood gives us an advantage. Take back the weapons being stolen by the Twilight's Blade, and I'll show you why it was worth the effort.
Amani matters are not your concern.
My blood is boiling. While waiting for Kinduru, the Twilight's Blade was destroying what little stores of Lightwood we had left at Ragemore Terrace. But if we act quickly, we can save enough to arm the Lightwood Ballista and take a shot at Mordoon. And without the Ballista, we cannot claim victory.
Leave me then. I swear to the ancestors, I will throw you over my shoulder and carry you if you don't leave now.
That's what I used to tell you when you were a child.
And as usual, the characters they have for the trolls are usually like pretty great characters, and I can already tell. I'm already liking these characters. These are going to be some trolls I'm going to have some enjoy my time with. That's for sure, man. There's the weapons. Need to put out another fire. One right here. I'm also already liking the new music for this zone. Of course, they had to turn an entire, instance into a full zone. Because I mentioned how, oh yeah, Atal Aman, this is basically what the dungeon was, this layout. Now expand that into an entire zone. So I really commend the developers for doing this and pulling this off. And now a huge lightwood pile extinguished.
Gokinye, help me put this fire out now!
In a moment, man, I'm getting more of the lightwood. There we go. Alright, let's now put this out.
You and you, take what's left of the ballista bolts to the altar. Do you see? The cult burns the lightwood because they fear its power. We don't need anyone's help. Yes? Why are you speaking?
Good. Now we have teeth to bite back with.
Oraka.
We lost so much of it. We could have blacked out the sky with the ballista bolts, but this still may be enough. It will have to be.
You dare address Zul'Jan.
Zul'Jara doesn't think that the lightwood is worth the risk that I am taking. We will prove her wrong. I have seen too many warriors discouraged because their weapons don't work against the Twilight's Blade. Don't just tell them to retreat. Give them the lightwood weapons. Nothing stirs Amani blood like an effective axe in their hands. Let them fight their way back to the altar of Malakras.
You wouldn't understand anyway.
Talk to me if you have answers. I don't need your
Mordoon
problems.
may be the leader of the Twilight's Blade in Zulaman, but the ogre can't be everywhere. The elf found his military commander, a hulking pile of armor and flesh named Benvis Blade Splatter. He's parading around like he's already won, just because they seized Firewing Terrace. Make him pay for his arrogance.
You're dismissed.
I answer to the light.
In our reconnaissance flight around the city, Zuljara and I got a look at the Twilight's offensive. They're summoning more Twilight's Blade directly into Atal Aman. We can counter them by disrupting their dark summoning rituals that will stop the flow of their cultists into the city and give the Amani time to strategize. Kill the ritualists and any troll breakers that are already portaled into the area.
Fight well.
Lightwood or no, our people need rescuing, Jean. Take the elf and look for survivors.
Fine. Take the weapons. Arm any Amani you find.
Here you go, man. Roar! Oh, I'll make the Twilight's Blade pay! That's what I like to hear. Roar! Oh, there he is. There's a Lightwood axe right there, man. Oh, I see. Go. Hey, Benvis. You no getting to Muldoon. You be a corpse present as Altoth instead.
Killing my portal mages gets you nothing. We will still trample your pathetic swamp city. Benvis, you meathead! I knew you were a waste of Our Lady's favor.
There we go.
Tarundo, hold here until Zul'Jan fires, then leave with the survivors into confusion.
We will fly on the winds of Akilzon, like in the olden days.
Anaria Shala.
That should slow them down, at least for the moment.
Remain vigilant.
Oraka Gokine.
The next to fall will be
Watch yourself.
Muldoon.
Go then.
I don't speak to Gokinye.
The troops we armed have killed a great many Twilight's Blade. Some survived and made their way here. We lost a few, but I think the sacrifice was worth it.
Go back where you came from.
I have many lucky doos you like. Good fortune to our friends.
Zul'Jan's ballista is ready, and it had better work after what he has done. We lost the army we needed to defend the city, but we can fend off Mordoon long enough to let our people escape. Help my brother man the ballista. Focus on the Shadow Warders and the pylon. Liadra and I will distract Mordoon. I would kill him if I can, but even then we can't stay here. There's too much void energy and too much destruction. Atalaman is truly lost.
Mind yourself, Bin Zulam.
With me, Elf. Let's get in close and distract him.
Get over here, Gorkini. I'll load the bolts. You start firing.
Mere mortal-born armaments cannot harm the grand glory of Xalatath.
Okay, so now we get cover fire and lightwood launch.
Gah! Your weapons are empowered with light!
Warriors, attack!
Fire everything!
Foolish Amani, you have already lost. Your city is in ruins. No one is coming to help you, not even your gods. Xalatath relishes in your anguish and will exalt us when your empire falls. Don't worry. Your end will come soon.
Running away? Coward! The victory should have been ours.
This was no victory. We bought the civilians' escape with blood.
His eyes glow with the desire for vengeance.
The Amani never die, but you might if you cross me.
Mordoon is playing with us. He could have stayed and destroyed the city outright. If chaos is the Twilight's Blade's plan, we need to prepare.
Go then.
You and your elf friend amuse me. And you've more than proved yourself in battle. Our people are heading to Amanizar. We hope that the other tribes rally there instead of Atalaman. Their representatives will give us counsel, and then we will mount an attack on the Twilight's Blade. If you still wish to fight with the Amani, meet me on the northwest side of the village. Zul'Jan will have gone ahead to speak of his deeds and yours. But do not enter the village without me. Amani kills strangers on sight.
Go back where you came from.
If we help eliminate the Twilight's Blade, the need for Lightwood and the raids into Eversong will end.
We can end the threat inside and outside our gates. If you really want to join our fight, then come with me.
By the way, I should mention, this area we fought here, this is known as the Warlord's Stair. Because, of course, as I mentioned, that's where you would fight Malakras, and then you'd make your way through here up to where Zul'Jin sat and waited for you. We never saw any of this past it. Basically, Atalaman is all we ever saw. Now we actually get to see Zul'Aman. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about the fact that we actually now get an entire zone past what was the Zulaman raid and such. Remember, it was a 10-man raid back in TBC and then was converted back to a 5-man dungeon for Cataclysm.
For your own safety, I suggest you keep your blade sheathed and stay close to me in Amanizar.
No problem.
Kinde.
Tokobene na Amanizar, Dreadniks. Welcome to Amanizar. Because you are my guests, my people will not harm you, unless I say so. The forest troll tribes of Zulaman will recognize your skill in battle, and they will now tolerate your presence in their lands.
Spit it out, or I slice it out with my axe.
We will speak to Torundo, my war advisor, and if the representatives of the tribes are here, we will have a council meeting in the Zari Lodge. Together we must agree on a way to defeat the Twilight's Blade. Explore the village if you want, but keep your weapons where they can be seen. You are here by my invitation, and my word is law. But I can only run so fast if one of my people thinks that you looked at them the wrong way.
You best be glad you come with me. The leaders of the forest tribe have gathered to discuss our war plan.
And notice how they all went from hostile to friendly. How's it going, man? Ah. We will pick that up later. The Altar of Blessings.
Where were all of you when the drums sounded? You let Atalaman fall!
So that's Taklejo, the Shadowpine tribe. Helna, Torn Tusk of the Reventusk tribe. And Kulamara of the Witherbark. You remember her, right? At least I'm pretty sure. I think that's her anyway. Oh, we got the renowned quartermaster over here.
To you.
Oh, a 180 neck I could get right away with just 25 of these. A pattern. I need to get rank 5. And that's an armor kit. Oh, I'll probably definitely be needing that. And that looks like a, oh, for jewel crafters. Oh yeah, they definitely gotta get that. Oh, and we got skinning and leatherworking books. Very nice, man. An Amani Blessed Bear. Nice updated model for the bear. A wind collar. Just like what they're using. Very nice. Very nice. So yeah, we need to talk, y'all. Also, Torundo is, of course, here. We need to talk about what happened.
You better be worth my time.
Lila Jew is here.
For the Amani.
Also represent. I speak for the Reventusk. Really?
I won't miss ya.
I am a warrior of the Reventusk, but Liaju speaks for the tribe. Are the Reventusk in the Hinterlands connected to you? At the height of the Amani Empire, we were one single tribe. But that was a long time ago, and the Reventusk of the South have since chosen to walk their own path. I hear they even joined a horde, and they took city in Jintalor as their own. The Reventusk up here? We remain true to the Amani.
You should be in chains. That's right, leave.
Uraka, chosen of Janalai.
There are a few of us left. We shut up and wait before we act. We will listen to the flame. If the time comes, we need to fight, then we will fight.
Keep walking.
Spit it out, or I slice it
Find
out.
a seat for the
Talaman
meeting.
has fallen.
No thanks to all of you!
We are under attack. The Vile Branch.
No time for bearing our tusks. We need a plan. Torundo,
Not many Amani made it back here.
The Raven Tusk also suffered heavy losses.
I have sent out a call to my people. We will see.
Forgive me, but what about the Loa? Can you not call upon them to aid you?
The Loa? They abandoned us long ago.
We never needed them. We can rely on our own strength.
I ask again for your assistance. We've got to make a stand. Make ready what you can.
You know what I think would be cool? We happen to know quite a few other trolls. Not Amani, but like, you know, Dark Spear, Zandala. I have a feeling if we brought some of them here, they'd have a talk with them about Daloa. Just saying.
Kinde.
There is much there is much that you do not know about us and Daloa.
Mind yourself in Zulaman.
Daloa have not spoken to us in many years. Not since I was a young child. And they have shown no sign of wanting to help us now. No. It is up to us alone. We must find a way to rally the other tribes and fight the Twilight's Blade as one. I will speak to the tribal representatives and help the refugees where I can. They are our priority. Come, you might learn something about the Amani.
The Amani need no one. No point in talking about Daloa. They abandoned us long ago. Come, let us check on the refugees.
I think they're missing the point that the Aloha were basically trying to get killed by their leader Zuljin and Malakras.
Your forces
so of course they were abandoned.
Calamara.
Then stop the Vile Branch from kidnapping us in the middle of the night.
Of course the Loa abandoned them if they were being threatened to be killed. That's what happened in the raid. So why would the Loa be like, yeah, no, we're cool, we're fine? Y'all gotta earn the Loa back.
I need your report. When can our soldiers be ready for battle?
No, it don't look good. All that's left be the old, the injured, and the hungry.
There we go.
Your people's situation is far more desperate than I realized.
The tribes have splintered since Zuljin fell. The Twilight Blade picking us apart because we no longer work as one.
Yeah, that tends to happen when a massive figure and warlord like Zuljin does what he did and then gets taken down.
The Raven Tusk's best smith be repairing our weapons, Zuljara. I will give respect to where it be due.
We Raven Tusk lost our elders in our village because of the Twilight's Blade, including my father and my grandfather. So I lead the Raven Tusk now. Wow. We need to report on the Lightwood.
Then go. We are working as fast as we can, but many of our weapons were broken in the attack.
Keep it up. These weapons are our best chance against the Void. If the Lightwood weapons are not ready, maybe the Shadowpine Shamans can help.
I think that's what they need to understand, is that the Loa aren't just going to come back. Y'all need to earn them back. Because why would they ever come back after y'all tried to kill them and take their power for yourselves? Now, yes, that was Zuljin and Malakras that did that, but still, they were part of the Amani. That's how the Loa see it. Hey, Morrow. Who's your good links? There you go.
Ah, Zuljara. You come seeking the power of my tribe's shamans? Hashula, you honor me with your presence.
Where are the shamans?
You know, none can order the Shadowpine. We wander, obeying only the inner fire in each of us.
Then we'll be left with few warriors, few weapons, and few shamans as well.
It is time for desperate acts. Would you let your people perish because you did not try every option?
Fool elf, I told you the Loa be silent. If you need proof, let the old Loa speaker tell you himself.
So now we'll go speak with Kinduru.
You were with me as a child when I last went to Akilzon's temple. Zul'Shara, do you not remember?
Yes, uncle. But even then, the Loa did not speak to us.
We need all the help we can get.
When Zul'Jara was a child and her grandfather Zul'Jin was chieftain, the Loa was still at the heart of Amani culture, as they had been since the Amani's beginning. All the Amani chieftain had to present themselves to the Loa, but only some were blessed by all and became Hashe. Not just a chief, not just a speaker for the Loa, but a fearsome warrior and a pillar of the community. This is the journey that Zul'Jara must undertake, Loa willing. This is what will save us. And you? Will you help her? Yes, you are not Amani, but you are strong. And I sense Akilzon has blessed you with victory many times before. I can think of no one better to be her Hashura. What's a Hashura? The path of the Hashe is long and arduous, full of trials and perils. A Hashura is an acolyte of the Hashe. They follow them along the path, they fight for them, and they die for them. Usually there are two, but seeing as I am an old man, our soldiers are injured, and Zul'Jan would never agree. I guess Liadrin will have to be the second. To honor Hashura going to 2 blood elves, I hope that this won't anger the Loa more. I like that this is acknowledging that I am also a blood elf. That's funny. I will help Zul'Jara, of course.
The Loa always heed us in times of crisis. They may listen now to the right voice, someone on the path of the Hashe.
Talk to me if you have answers. I don't need your problems.
Hashe, has Uncle lost his sense? It is a tale for children. Maybe this was the old days, generations ago, before the elves arrived. But if the last chance we got is to try to speak to the Loa, then I will try.
I got my eye on you.
Kinduru, we're down 3 already. Kinduru's my uncle and I trust him. But this path of the Hashe, things are not what they were decades ago. The Loa are gone. They're not gonna hear us. Zul'Jara lets out a loud growl that only you and Liadra can hear. No, we're running out of options. If this is the time for old myths and dreams, then so be it. We meet at the foot of the mountains, Akilzon's reach, where the old Hashe shrines are.
Light the shrines on the way to the temple. And don't forget to leave Akilzon an offering.
The temple be overrun with Narlden. Killing them will help us pass the time on the way. Come, Ashura.
Now, who might you be?
Uncle, the Loa haven't spoken to you in years. Why do you think they will speak to us now?
You did not know the world with the Loa in it, my child. They were our strength, our hope. Akilzon bestowed on me a great honor when she made me her speaker. I tried to instill in both of you and Zul'Jin, a love for the Loa.
I remember the stories about Akilzon, Halazi, Janalai, and Nalarak, and how they protected us.
I loved listening to your stories, Uncle. But even then, I wondered if they were true.
How much do you remember about going to Akilzon's temple?
We climbed to the temple. Zul'Jam fell. I did not get to Loa's blessing, and my mother died.
The story we just heard.
You saved your brother, and you defended the right to lead as Zul'Jin's granddaughter, all on your own. If anyone can get to the Loa and get answers, it is you.
As Dahashi, I'm no priestess, no mystic or uniter.
No, my Jara, as my niece, because I know you have the fire, and I love you more than anything.
Then I will go. For our people, and for you, Uncle.
That's sweet. Now what is up here? The Altar of Blessings. I wonder if there's something you can do later. This not be something that we can do right away, Mon. Oh wait, no, hold on here. An altar keeper?
I got spells that turn your insides to outsides.
What is the Altar of Blessings? Oh, the Altar of Blessings is where all the Loa of Zul'Aman can be worshipped. Shrines and temples are dedicated to specific Loa, but the pilgrimage to them can be difficult, especially to the sites of ancient Loa with few worshippers. Some Loa take umbrage at worshiping many Loa at once, but you are unique, Ashura. The Loa see your greatness, allowing you to worship many of them at once, and to bless you in kind too.
That's right. Keep walking.
Where can I find them? Oh, I know more about some Loa and less about others, but I can point you near where each Loa can be found. Kulzi, the Loa of medicine, Philo, the Loa of childhood, Matamra, the Loa of pestilence, Wilama, the Loa of travelers, Shadra, the Loa of subterfuge, Dundun, the Loa of abundance, Pool, the Loa of peril, and Oi, the Loa of growth.
No, there is nowhere you can hide. What are you looking at?
That's something I'll probably have to figure out later. Alright, I think that is an excellent note to end on at the moment. Because it is getting late. I'm starting to feel I think it'd be better if I head to bed, get some sleep, and then we focus just entirely on Zul'Aman while we are here. Now, there is something I do want to go see. Are those there now? They weren't there before, and I'm wondering if it's possible that they are there now. The Leech Bog. There's gonna be a bunch of treasures I'm probably gonna have to fly around and find. But it's funny how like this was a building and now it's just this platform. And I can't be the only one that finds this weird that they would have an altar to Malakras. Since Malakras is like essentially the reason why all this crap happened. Like Zul'Jin didn't necessarily like this wasn't his idea, the whole killing the Loa and taking their power. That was Malakras' idea. Nope, those aren't there for some reason. I don't know. I don't see them there for some reason, so maybe they show up later? I don't know. Only visible after advancing in the campaign. Ah, I see. So I have to advance the campaign. We basically liberate and take back Atalaman, and then it'll be visible. Gotcha. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my character back over here. Because this town over here is a rest zone. And we're just going to chill right here, and tomorrow we will pick this up and continue. And guys, I am looking forward to this. I can already tell that we're going to have some fun with more Loa in this zone. If it was anything like it was in BFA with those Loa, I'm looking forward to this. Like, I'm expecting we're going to try to reconnect with the 4 Loa that were part of that raid, you know. Because that would make sense, right? They haven't heard from them since then because of course they haven't. They basically, we saved them, but I can understand them being rather like spiteful towards the Amani. Like, hey, look, y'all tried to kill us. We're out of here. Like, y'all gotta earn us back, okay?